Welcome in, everybody. We'll be getting started here shortly. We're just getting our final contestants ready and in position, and we will start to commentate on some of these matches. Best of luck to all of our finalists. Hello, what's going on, Hank? Neutral, Lord Death, welcome. We'll get started here in just a second. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Cards and Tankards Championship Tournament. My name is Avid. If you're not familiar, I'm the lead game designer for the project and going to be commentating today during the tournament. Unfortunately, for the quarterfinals, we will not be able to watch every single match, but we will be following some of the higher-ranked player matches for the quarterfinals. Once we move into the semifinals, we will be doing each match separately, so you guys will be able to see those matches in their entirety, as well as the third place qualifier and finals match to figure out who our first and second place will be. We're about to get started here in just a second. For our quarterfinals match, our bracket shows that we have Theo Angle and Raw Guillotine playing in their match, Forever and Rayon playing in their match, Zoltron, Mr. Twisted playing in their match, and Big Aiden and Persephone 2929 playing in their match. We have a couple surprise people making it to the top. Zoltron, who had held the first place position for quite some time, is still in it, while we had the actual current first place and some of the other higher placements on the ranks not quite make it to the finals. So we will see how this thing ends up as it all wraps up towards the end of the day today. But hopefully you guys stick with me throughout all of it and see all of this exciting gameplay as it happens. Everybody in chat, hello and welcome. Thank you for coming in and tuning in with us today. Please spread the word, let others know that this tournament's going to be happening, and we'll get started, like I said, here in just a second. As soon as these matches start beginning, I'll switch my screen over and we'll start watching.
soul will be mine, Twisted.
Whoa.
Damn.
All right,
Come on,
Twisted, find
Twisted,
someone
you
else to
got
play.
this. You got this. You can do it.
Hey everybody, you guys can hear me in game as well, right?
Yes, we can.
All right,
Yes,
we're
sir.
currently live streaming. I know your matches aren't going to quite start just yet, but while we get everybody set up, how excited is everybody for the finals today?
Woo, woo.
Let's get it out of the way so we get
I
new
don't have
cards.
hands
Who
right.
thinks they're going to win? Who thinks they have what it takes to get first place today?
It's
No
all
one?
Unpredictable.
No one.
It's all unpredictable.
I think I'm gonna win.
All right, Mr. Twisted. All right, all right.
We're all terrible at this game.
I'll tell you what, Twisted.
We have a lot of
Go.
top-ranked players here,
If
but
you defeat me, you will get #1 spot. If you lose, you're not gonna get it.
Whoa.
Looking-
Hey, whoa.
looking at sheer rating here, by the way, it looks like Raw Guillotine is the only diamond ranked player to make it to the quarterfinals. So congratulations to Raw Guillotine for proving your worth. It doesn't mean that you have to be top of the leaderboards to get here to the finals of the championship tournament.
Way to not suck, Raw.
Look who knocked out.
Congratulations, you're doing great. Keep it up. I want to see you make it all the way.
I will.
You'll get there.
I will.
Are there any
Does this mean
any
Avid
players
means
here today that you guys are
broken
concerned
rules?
about matching against?
Any decks we're concerned about, or the people?
Or players? Like who is everyone specifically worried about having to match against here in the tournament?
Oh,
Big
the
Aiden.
Italian guy.
I'm worried about Big Aiden.
About Big Aiden. Aiden, how many tournaments have you won? Not the championships, but the monthly standards.
The funny card game.
Are you there, Aiden?
Aiden, I think Avid asked your question.
I said, how many of the monthly standard tournaments have you won?
I don't even know. I don't keep track, so
A decent amount, though. Okay, fair.
yeah, a few.
Solid contender for finals. Also, currently, what's your rank? 3 on the leaderboard.
Yeah. But still in 1,000-point difference between second and third.
Is it?
And then a 1,200 point between first and
So those of you who haven't been tracking the leaderboard, I'm going to show it real quick on stream here.
That's crazy.
Current leaderboard positionings. Massive gap between first place and third, as Aiden was saying. Over 2,000
Is
point
that Anita
difference.
Slaughter I see here in the tournament stage? Hello.
Oh, Anita's here? My
Anita's here.
Hello, Anita.
Anita, what?
Anita Slaughter.
Whenever
She's
you are ready, Mish.
only draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. She's
What,
in the
she
top
just
8.
in the?
She's right here. No, I'm just messing with you, man. She's in
I
the
think we're ready whenever you are, Mish.
What? She doesn't play anything but.
Let's
draft.
do it.
I know. I was
She's
playing
in
with
the
her last
top
night,
8
and
draft
she's like,
tournament.
no, I will not. She's like, I'll watch.
All
it,
right,
but
everybody,
it's
we are
like-
going to go ahead and get started with the top 8 finalists. We will be allowing the matches to happen at the same time for the top 8, but we will
I
be
did a draft
streaming
tournament last
the
night.
semifinals, the
Made
third
them
place
all
match,
pick
as well as the
everything.
championship match individually. We are going to go ahead and get started with our top 8. The bracket has been posted in our official events channel. You guys can go ahead and tune into the official Cards and Tankards YouTube to get commentary and streaming from our creative developer Avid. Again, good luck, have fun. We're excited to see the outcome of the season 0+.
All right, everybody, you heard her.
All right.
Get to your tables and go ahead and start your matches.
All right, Mr. Twisted. You know the rules. What are you running?
You want this table?
I have everything but MRA.
Alright, ready?
Sorry, just
Alright.
for my own simplicity, which decks I
I've got everything.
Nobody has MRA. It's Wild Horde now.
Plunder and Augur.
I will ban the Dungeon Master.
Can we-
I have
Alright.
Dungeon Master,
Can we write it on the
Plunder,
deck
and Ogre.
box and then show each
I
other?
ban
at
your
the same
Dungeon
time?
Master too.
Very well, Mr. Twisted.
All right, Dungeon Master
Game's
banned
beginning.
from both players. Good luck, have fun.
I just want to get my music in order real quick.
Okay. The purple.
Okay.
All right, we're going to mute the in-game audio just so there's less distractions. And we're going to go ahead and watch both players banning the Dungeon Master. It's a pretty common choice right now. Everybody's pretty worried about the Mastery decks. They're a little bit hard to play against. We have already teased some balance changes coming in the Crusade of Sun and Stone expansion coming on March 20th. As well as a bunch of new cards are going to be impacting the meta in a variety of different ways. So we'll see
Everybody,
how
the
that
matches
adjusts in the
are just
future.
about to start. We'll go ahead and start the 90-minute timer.
And I will deafen the Discord as well. Alright, first turn, pretty quick. Summon with a counter. A little bit of damage in. It looks like the Wild Horde deck that Twisted is playing might be just an aggro, typical aggro MRA deck. While we have an Augur Order deck for Zoltron here. He's already got an Endless Merc-Band summoned. Usually you see Endless Merc-Bands kind of show up towards the end of a match as a win condition, but getting one out early is not a bad option, but he maybe only had this as his only choice of blocker right now, so we'll see how the rest of the match kind of continues on. We got a Stellar Shard early on. Stellar Shard. Always love to see a turn 4 Stellar. It's definitely a very valuable card. The 1 damage that it deals to you each turn is negligible compared to the damage it's going to deal to your opponent, especially early game if they don't have enough blockers. Usually your opponent will have to sacrifice several creatures into it blocking in order to get rid of it, but we have a Dark Matter Blast into a Reiteration, into another Dark Matter Blast to handle the Stellar Shard. Unfortunately, it does cost Zoltron another 2 health, but health is a resource. Twisted continuing with the pressure, putting amps on the Wandering Executioner that was just summoned to not only kill the 1 blocker Zoltron had left, but to also give it the increased damage for that turn. Down to 14 health for Zoltron. The pressure is it's pretty high right now. If Twisted continues to have any form of removal, which he does with the Vanguard, leaving the board wide open for another aggro push, as well as an Energized Elemental hitting the board. This is quickly going to be coming to an end if Twisted can keep up this pressure. At this point with 4 HP, the Energized Elemental dying is going to deal another 2. If anything gets around Zoltron, it's pretty much game over at this point. He'd have to summon 3 blockers this turn with only 6 mana. He's cycled. He's already at 4 health, so this contract is not a Pact of Non-Aggression, so he doesn't have any help from that. Even if he were to play it this turn, that 2 mana burn, or the 2 mana loss from that is going to reduce him down to 4 to try to put up blockers. He puts up another contract, but it's not. Oh, he's going to reiterate. That's actually a solid choice to give him a little bit of time. The Royal Filibuster, which is going to prevent any player from gaining or losing life, gives him a little bit of time to try to figure out an answer here. Unfortunately, Twisted is just taking the opportunity to continue to expand the board, making it even harder for Zoltron to try to block this lethal. But we know he has another Royal Filibuster in hand because he reiterated it. So if he casts it again and prevents that damage, he will have another turn, but that's again going to cost him a significant amount of mana for the turn. There's only 2 creatures on Twisted's side that are Vanguardable. I don't even know if Zoltron runs Vanguard in this current deck, so that's not necessarily the best option. He's going to try to life gain out of this, and then again with the Filibuster to prevent any damage. Twisted is going to be smart and not blow up the board anymore, because if there is any form of board wipe, like a final spell in the future, got a Parchment Barrage, additional card draw, possible Pact of Non-Aggression now that we're above 7. Another Filibuster he's delaying. As you notice, Twisted is not continuing to summon more creatures even though he has plenty of cards in hand. He wants to make sure he avoids the final spell. If the final spell goes off and wipes his board state, it's just going to take more creatures with it. He doesn't need any more on the board to get lethal. We have the Avatar of Peace, neutralizing 2 creatures on the board. He hit Energized Elemental, which is a solid choice, no longer can attack, as well as it looks like the Wandering Executioner. 2 highest attack makes sense. The Energized Elemental getting it as well prevents him from ever having to block it and take that too. Solid choice. Twisted, using tons of spells from his hand. He has tons of resources. That is lethal. Wait, is it right? Yeah, because we don't have another Royal Filibuster, but we are going to get a proc of Life Pact, or Pact of Non-Aggression. Which, for those of you who aren't familiar, once you have 5 or less health, it gives 10 life. That puts him out of lethal range, gives him 1 more turn. Zoltron at 10 mana now could be a final spell, but he knows that there's probably amped in Twisted's hand. At some point, he's just going to have to come up with a different solution. If he's not running, he doesn't have the final spell apparently. He's going to try to neutralize the board state with these Avatars of Peace. continuing to summon it. He necromancy this one back from the grave to neutralize 2 more positions on the board. So of the 7, yeah, correct, 7 creatures that Twisted has, 4 of them are now pacifists and unable to attack and kind of locked on the board. If Twisted doesn't have any way to remove those creatures himself, they will be permanent spots he can no longer fill on the board. If Zoltron stabilizes here, especially now that he's got the flight, if we see Dark Omen Spyhawks, I wonder if that's just for counter flight, like anti-B. That's a strong, solid choice for anti-aggro. Life is resource, folks. Getting down to 9 HP here is not the end of the world. You don't have a filibuster up. Any damage that gets through now. The Vanguard to deal the 2 damage. He's killing off his own energized elemental in order to deal the extra 2 damage, just to get him that much closer. Zoltron does have the flight, so bees at this point are not going to get through and would die off before, without even killing the Dark Omen Spyhawks, which is why they're such a great anti-bee card. Zoltron playing a very close call here, but controlled deck, and he's starting to stabilize. The longer this match goes on, we may see this start shifting back in Zoltron's favor. We do have even more creatures on the board, though, and Twisted's going to start swinging into these blockers to get rid of them. Currently pending spell. Can't see what that is. I think that was a Call of the Old Gods. That was a Call of the Old Gods. Just dealing a little bit of damage, trying to get rid of some creatures. He weakened the creature just enough that the Vanguard was able to take out additional creatures. I don't know why he played in that order, though. Garen in first, and then the Vanguard. Vanguard should have definitely hit the board first to avoid the 1 damage to the Garen. But those kinds of simple play mistakes can cost you the game sometimes, but we'll see. Avatar piece gone. No longer able to block. So he's going to start putting on the pressure again, forcing Zoltron to make some blocks here. He has creatures, but 3 of them have 0 attacks. So even though he can chuck block here to prevent the damage, these creatures are not going to last long if he keeps having to block like this. By the way, guys, if you are in chat talking right now, I'm trying to pay attention to the game, so I'm not going to be following the chat too closely, but I will be monitoring it between matches and glancing at it from time to time. So thank you guys for sticking around. Please feel free to have a conversation with each other and make any commentary you want about this match as well. Let me know what your thoughts are. We're going to get some life gain off of Garen every single time that Twisted draws. So the longer that sticks on the board, the worse it is for Twisted. Surprisingly enough, of the 4 creatures Zoltron had, he only needed to block 3, and he chose to block with the Garen. I think he's more concerned about the bees, potentially, which Twisted has a handful of cards, and we haven't seen a bee yet. And in MRA aggro, we know he's running them. I think he's waiting for his prime opportunity. He's going to get rid of the flight first, and then he's going to use those bees for a potential win condition. We have another Royal Filibuster up, preventing any kind of damage. Twisted only summoning the 1 additional creature. I'm not sure if Zoltron's deck actually runs the final spell. His old heal deck used to run the final spell, and it was notorious for it, but I haven't seen one yet this match. Resetting the board like that would definitely give him a decent shot here, but because of Mr. Twisted running those bees again, if he wipes his own board of flight like this, then he's giving up the opportunity for Twisted to slam down a bunch of bees here, and if he has 3 of them, that would be lethal. We don't see a bee first, which means he might not actually have them. He will amp the Executioner up to 6. And we're going to summon 2 amped goblins from Grow the Horde. That puts him at 10. And with the +2, that is 12 damage lethal. And again, why Zoltron probably was holding off on that final spell for as long as he was, but he was quickly running out of options. All right, game 1 goes to Twisted. We'll see what they play next. Try to put a score up on the board here so we can keep track. GG's to Twisted, but it's not over yet. We got potentially 2 more matches here. Looks like Twisted's now playing his Augur Order deck as we see the cycle mechanic. Deceptively using a card that feels very Wild Horde in theme. Zoltron running a Plundering Guild deck, so he's running his second deck as well. They have both swapped to their alternate decks, meaning Zoltron, if he wins this, will have to go up against this Augur Order deck with his own Augur Order deck. Which will be a very interesting potential mirror match. We'll see. I haven't seen Twisted play enough cards yet to know what deck he's playing. Trinity suggesting that Zoltron's probably running a Plunder Rush deck. We shall see. I'm seeing a lot of Noble Plunder synergy, and I believe we saw this yesterday. It wasn't quite aggro. There was a lot of Plunder synergy, Copy Mages hitting the board, Pillaging Princes hitting the board, free Plunders to kind of adapt to the circumstances of your opponent's board state, which ended up actually yesterday getting him a Pisanian Liquidator, which put in enough Assassin Strikes to actually win him the match. The deck had no Assassin Strike synergy to begin with, outside of technically already having Stellar Shards, I believe. But by getting that Pisanian Liquidator from a Plunder, he was able to use the damage pings from the Stellar Shards to actually shuffle in a significant amount of Assassin Strikes into his opponent's deck, and it ended up getting him the win. It was a very close match. We got a couple contracts up. Current active is Parchment Barrage, Barony Socialite, Pillaging Prince on board. He has the options to plunder. He's got 3 coins, but he hasn't yet. Probably because he has a decent amount of cards at hand, and with the new addition to hand size limits, it's not essential. Also, I guess it was exhausted the first turn it was summoned, but he did get the free one from Barony Socialite anyways. I wonder what card he got. We haven't really seen much hit the board for Twisted. He's been playing a lot of removal spells, trying to get rid of his opponent's board state, so it looks like he's playing a form of Augur Control. Looks like we had some questions in the chat about what Conquest mode is. The way these tournaments go is both players or all players bring 3 decks with them, 1 from each faction. You can't bring all from the same faction. That forces players to have to diversify their playstyles to not just master one faction in one deck, but multiple factions, multiple decks. When the matches start, both players get to choose one of their opponent's 3 decks to ban, and so they cannot play that deck. And as we saw at the beginning of this, both players banned Dungeon Master, because right now Mastery is feeling very strong in the meta, and the players are not wanting to have to face that here in the championship tournament when cash and other prizes are on the line. But now they're stuck playing against each other with their control decks, and we'll see how this kind of turns out. More creatures getting summoned. We got Copy Mage, which is another noble, so he got another proc of the Plunder from Barony Socialite. We're seeing him get plenty of sources, as well as Garanon being a noble as well. So he's getting plenty of free plunders right now. He's not even having to activate the Pillaging Prince, which is also no longer around. But Vanguard getting tons of value, 3 creature removal from the board. But health still in Zoltron's favor. He's not feeling too threatened yet. It looks like Twist is going to start ramping up these Endless Merc Bands, his control deck win condition, I'm sure. The more you play these, the stronger they get, and the more he cycles them back, the more infinite they become. So the longer this match goes on, the more of a problem those will be for Zoltron. There are cards in the Plundering Guild faction that he can use to try to remove these from Twisted's arsenal, but I'm not sure if he's running them yet. He may be able to plunder that as an option, knowing that that's what Twisted's win condition is going to be. The more chances Zoltron gets at a plunder, the more opportunities he's going to have to try to find that card. We have a card stolen. I'm not sure what it was. Can't see from what it is. 2 cards stolen from the deck. Barony Socialite has been giving Zoltron a lot of value. But now he's going to be trading it away, potentially because his hand size is getting too big at this point, but it's not a draw from the deck if you're at max hand size anyways. Twisted deciding not to double trade into the Barony because he's got the Vanguard himself. Would have realistically made no difference, but gotten rid of it a turn earlier, based on the way that just played out. Zoltron already committing to the attack from Wandering Executioner, knowing that the Vanguard blocking it is going to die while the Executioner survives. And Zoltron's just going to take the opportunity to spend mana to keep growing the board and increase the power of his own endless Merc Bands. He's getting another Plunder off of the Pillaging Prince. He spent the coin for turn. Hopefully he got something that he needed. And we're going to see a final spell from Twisted, wipe the board clean and start fresh here. Both have been growing their... Oh, we see a Stellar Shard. Both have been growing their Endless Merc Bands. So a board wipe here is not the end of the world. They're just going to continue to draw into those Merc Bands that are going to get stronger and stronger. And Zoltron just very quickly trying to rebuild his own board state. He needs the coins for something because he just summoned... Was that the Eager Farmer he just nuked? This is the Daring Swindler. Okay, so he played a Daring Swindler, dead or alived it to get the coins and to steal a card for Twisted's hand off the last word proc. Twisted running the Avatars of Peace, which were once a meme card, but now a very strong and powerful board lock card. Control decks, love them. We've got another Barony Socialite, followed by the Garanon for the free Plunder proc. Garanon gaining the life as well, putting him farther and farther away from lethal. It's not going to matter quite yet. I didn't see what that was. Resource equalization. So he played it rather than discarding, which meant that he actually forced a discard from Zoltron's hand. And it looks like he hit a Fireball. Not necessarily the best card he could have hit with that. I'm sure he's probably aiming for an Endless Merc Band. We've got a contract from Twisted up as well. We got a Barony Socialite triggering the other Barony Socialite, so it's a free Plunder. We also get a Bassmith Reformed Devil, which if you did not know is also another noble creature, so that's another free proc of Plunder. Continuing to fill Zoltron's hand with this control deck. And we had a reiteration on his... Was that the... Oh, it was on the Violent Repossession, which was reduced cost, it seems. So he's going to have another one of those handy. Twisted with his second final spell, but he's reiterating it to continue to have options to wipe the board as Zoltron keeps growing his board. That double draw there is a Merc Band entering the hand. We will likely see him discard one of those back to the deck, if not multiple. So he just played Pre-Planned Prophecy, which means he probably discarded both those Merc Bands back to the top of the deck so he can draw into two more. And he's going to start ramping up those Merc Bands pretty quickly here. Zoltron trying to grow his health even further with his Restorative Alchemies, 2 back-to-back. Shuffling some life elixirs into the deck, as well as getting a Garanon back out on the board. Is this plundered? No. Did he Necromancy? Where did the... Ah, the first Garanon was a... Oh man, both of these were plundered? How lucky. Potentially one... No, one wasn't copied either. Well, maybe was that Copy Mage unenhanced? No, that was enhanced. Man, did he really plunder 2 Garanons? And then played his third? 3 Garanons in this match. That is pretty crazy luck. Twisted putting down 3 more Endless Merc Bands. Growing currently the strongest is at... It should be 7-7 in the deck now with 6-6 at the board. Zoltron looking for some answers by hitting Garanon for his Activate ability to draw the extra card. He's taking his time to think through his turn and his options here. He will need to try to keep up with these endless merc bands. But unfortunately, banishing that one is not going to stop Twisted from growing this army because he's already shuffling them back into the deck to keep drawing into more. Removing them from the board is not going to do anything. You need to remove them from the hand and deck before they hit the board in order to stop this combo. He does end up stealing a final spell. I did see that art there for a second. He's going to Fireball to get rid of one extra and leave the last one at 1 HP. Both are still healing. Twisted gets the heal from the Life Elixir, but that's technically a 2-card draw for Garanon. And we're going to see it here again. 2-card draw, 2 health to both players. Every Life Elixir for Twisted is basically a Life Elixir for Zoltron. Twisted finally getting a removal card to get him off the board, so that way Zoltron doesn't gain even more health and continue to grow. We're going to see a Chuck Block from the Grave Robber, so he avoids the damage. Life is a resource. He could have definitely have tanked that, but as these Merc bands continue to grow, he won't be able to tank for long. He's going to need to find some removal of his own. Twisted is the first one to get these Merc bands this large, so he's at an advantage. If you guys are curious, by the way, those of you watching the stream, where to find the bracket for this tournament, I'm posting it in the chat right now. It's at the challenge website from our Cards and Tankards community. You guys can click that and see the current bracket. We're watching the quarterfinals match right now, and we are at Battle 2 of this match. And we just saw another final spell wipe the board. Endless Mercman's gone. Feels like it's a board state reset, but again, Twisted's Endless Merc bands are still at a higher level, and he's going to Necromancy one back to get the one in hand up to 10, which means the other ones in deck are now at 11. These are quickly growing out of control, and Zoltron doesn't seem to have answers to keep up. He's not getting enough time through just simply removing them to have enough remaining mana to grow his own board state. If Twisted keeps playing more and more of his Merc bands, which his deck is getting low, so he's going to draw into them more and more often. Especially with the Augur Order mechanic of being able to cycle each turn. He still did not hit another Endless Merc band there. Priest of Kradam. Non-enhanced, so he's not looking to gain the Restless, but he gained Amp to something in hand. Not sure. With Zoltron's deck, he technically has the Copy Mages. He could go for an infinite Copy Mage combo just to stall out these Merc bands. But we did see one of the Copy Mages earlier. Only one, so there are potentially 2 more still in deck, and obviously he could have plundered them at any point. An infinite Copy Mage combo could go off to try to save him here, but control decks usually run high hand, so he's been slowly dwindling down to now 3 cards in hand. Gonna have to keep blocking and losing these creatures just as fast as he's summoning them. Another Mercbound down. We now have an Avatar of Peace with taunts protecting his board. What's he gonna steal? Another final spell? I don't know if there actually is a final spell in the graveyard. There is not. He could steal a Merc Band. He could steal Avatar of Peace. Most likely, I mean, I think Avatar of Peace here is probably the best option. And that's what he steals. Try to slowly brick the board state. But one Avatar of Peace is not going to be enough. It does prevent Twisted from having that as a resource to resummon with a Necromancy, though, to brick Zoltron's own board state. So it's also beneficial for that reason. Lots of card draw here in exchanges. We saw the double enhance. That means he got more of the Merc bands. Both hitting the board. 11, now 12. Continuing to grow. Zoltron having to chuck block. It's not looking good. It's going to quickly start chucking away. 56 health is a lot, but it goes away quickly. The Avatar piece now coming in handy to shut down both of those Merc bands. They will no longer be able to attack and are permanently stuck on the board until Twisted potentially does another final spell. We've only seen, I believe, 2 this match so far. It's so hard to click all the way over there. Oh, was I looking at the banish the entire time? I was looking at the banish. Final spells. There are 2 gone so far, so there may be a 3rd one still. Which we just saw. Did I just see the final spell? He just played it, so I swore he played him earlier. Maybe Zoltron stole one earlier and I forgot about it. Alright, we're seeing a potion recycle the decks. Zoltron is not going to be running out of cards, but unfortunately, if his win condition is to play Endless Merc Bands, by recycling his deck, or his graveyard back into his deck, it's going to make it that much harder to continue to draw into the Endless Merc Bands like Twisted's doing currently. Which is very clearly going to give him a win condition here in the short future if Zoltron can't find an answer for these. Twisted very strategically making sure he doesn't keep any in hand, so that way Zoltron cannot try to discard them from hand, not that he's even running the card in his deck. We have another copy. You see Zoltron come right back, or Twisted come right back with some more Endless Merc Bands continuing to grow. Got a randomized suppress on the Cautious Hunting Party, not a big deal. Just a cycle to try to get into more of these Merc Bands. They're continuing to grow and put this pressure on Zoltron. Again, Twisted's deck is running out, but he keeps strategically cycling one back. So he's going to have these Merc Bands go on forever unless Zoltron can figure out a way to get rid of that Merc Band that's in the deck itself. He's got Plunder as an option, playing a plundering deck. It doesn't seem like he got lucky enough, though, for any of his plunders to give him more deck removals than the 1 steal I believe we saw this match. World Filibuster to delay. Twisted almost committing to an attack, even though it would have done nothing. Another Merc Band just to grow him stronger and be ready for attack next turn. Parchment Barrage now active. Zoltron going to draw into his answers a little bit quicker here. Final spell. Wipes the board. That's going to give him a little bit of time here, but as we just saw again, Twisted drew right back into his Merc Bands. He's playing 2 and cycling 1 back. Drawing into 2. So he has 1 in hand right now. A hand theft, hand discard could potentially hit that Merc Band and get it out of this game. And if Zoltron can then wipe the board state one more time. We know there's still 1 in the deck, though. So he's got 1 in deck, 1 in hand. An upward state of now, what was that, 19, 20, and 21, 60 damage. He has lethal if there's no blockers on Zoltron's side. Unfortunately, that Vanguard's not going to remove anything, but it is a good chuck block. And we're going to see another Royal Filibuster delay. What seems to be the inevitable here. Twisted continuing to gain some life while he has the opportunity. Shuffling some additional cards into the deck. He's going to draw through all those life elixirs pretty quick here, as we see it instantly going off with, unfortunately, Royal Filibuster currently active, so he's gaining no health off of that. Potentially a misplay to try to gain life at the same turn Filibuster is up. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference to this match, but definitely should have probably done something different that turn with his mana. Barony Socialite into a Noble. He's looking to plunder. He's looking for answers. We've talked about the fact that he's got the Merc Band in hand and in the deck. He needs to find something that can remove those to the graveyard and stop this combo. He can chuck block for days until he gets another final spell. Because he cycled his deck, he should have more options in his deck to final spell. And with Twisted being so low on cards, if this Merc Band combo ends, Twisted's not going to be able to win. Unfortunately, it looks like he did not find the answer he was looking for, so he's just going to go for the Goblins for the most possible damage against his opponent when he's chuck blocking here. And Twisted doing the thing, summoning more. His goal is to probably not block with his Barony Socialite, because he's going to need to summon another Noble to try to plunder yet again. He can't summon and final spell same turn. We're going to see Twisted, unless he's still got the Merc Band in hand. He should have kept one at least in hand to cycle. Ooh. That looks like it's going to be it. Unfortunately, Zoltron did not plunder. That's the downside of plunder, is the RNG behind it does not mean that you're guaranteed to hit what you want. You could potentially get so lucky that you hit legendary cards that are clutch in every moment, every single time you plunder, or you could hit duds every single time, and a Wings of Vindication I don't think was what he was looking for here. And based on these blocks, it's not going to matter. There is still lethal on board. That will be a GG to Twisted, and he will be moving on to our semifinals.
Oh, good games. Also. You had copy mages, right?
Good singers on this game.
No, I didn't run copy mages.
GG's, gentlemen. That was a heck of a game. I saw Zoltron digging for answers there for quite a bit. Unfortunately, did not hit an answer for those endless merc bands. Well done, well played, well played.
I'll be over here singing real Slim Shady.
Like I said, man.
All right, chat. I'm going to move over to this screen again as we transition to our next battle. We'll see if any of the other quarterfinal matches are still going. Those both being control decks. I'm not sure, but oh, it looks like we do have a match here with Big Aiden. Oh, not a match? This is just for fun? Was this just for fun, Big Aiden? Not a match? Is that what you said? All right, chat, let me get the game set up real quick here. All right. So we've got our match from Persephone versus Big Aiden. Current score is still the same as below. I should have updated it for that last match. It was 2-0 to Twisted. The current score here, though, is 1-0 Big Aiden's favor right now. So if Aiden wins this one, that'll end the quarterfinals. Health is both pretty close right now. Let me actually quickly mute.
It was Aiden.
Mute the game audio. So looking at board states, we're kind of close here. We're seeing, again, the endless merc bands continuing to grow. Aiden is out of cards in deck, so if he doesn't spend his mana each turn, he is going to start taking damage. But he did a great revitalization on one of his merc bands to gain some life back and deal some damage, which puts Persephone at 14, him at 25, still with merc bands on the board. He's taking some risks attacking. He knows that it's going to get a check block and try to get him board advantage here. What is behind that elephant? We've got a skill siphoner that was already suppressed. All right. Vanguard coming in. Unfortunately, not doing a whole lot to the board state, but it is another defender. That B can go over the top, but at 25 HP, it's not much of a threat to Big Aiden right now. We also see a Ritual of Annihilation over here for Big Aiden. So that sacrifice from Great Revitalization that he did earlier reduced that cost down, and we may see some more sacrifice cards here soon. I haven't really looked at the deck. Tons of Royal Filibusters this match. I don't see a single Dread Experiment, so he must be only really using Great Revitalization as a sacrifice. So we might not see too many other sacrifices. It'll just be general turns that he's trying to delay at this point to deal lethal. He does play the 10 mana though and avoids the mana burn. Persephone also out of cards now, so mana unspent will be damage to self. And we're limited to the number of cards in hand. We're going to see some flyers hit the board. He's hoping to go over the top potentially. Only 3 turns left until the Ritual of Annihilation goes off. More merc bands hitting the board. They're going to continue to be a problem. Aiden, though, taking the 1 mana burn of damage. Persephone with a ritual of their own, taking a little bit of mana burn themselves. The mana burn could be a factor here towards the end. Aiden, though, with these endless merc bands, is going to continue to be able to get rid of at least some mana each turn. It looks like he played both, though. I'm not sure if there's an additional merc band in the hand at this point. And it looks like he decided to play it. He thinks that this match is about over. With Royal Filibusters, Persephone could potentially block this Ritual of Annihilation. We're going to see a spell book forgery with a enhanced cost, so it's going to give the 5 potential options here. Refill Persephone's hand, give them some options to burn mana to avoid this mana burn. Obviously, the Royal Filibuster does that just as well. Aiden doing the strategical thing and not spending any mana, so he keeps the cards in hands for future turns. If Persephone does not have a filibuster this turn, they lose. They lose to the Ritual of Annihilation, I believe. There's the filibuster. And that is going to tank the Ritual of Annihilation, giving Persephone another chance. But there are so many merc bands on the board here. Persephone has 4 more turns to try to survive for their own Ritual of Annihilation to now go off. Ooh, it looks like Persephone did have an endless merc band as well. And it is pretty beefy. A final spell would go so well right now to delay. Might just be baiting Big Aiden to play more, but Aiden's going to continue to flip and just not take any mana burn because of the Royal Filibuster. We're going to see a Necromancy into a B, into 2 amped flyers, dealing a total of, was that 10? Which is not going to be enough. The best Persephone could do, unfortunately, that will be lethal with Aiden full out swinging this turn. So close. Persephone's Ritual of Annihilation, 2 turns away. I feel like it would have been better to not attack and to continue to block, to try to delay. But either way, decision's made. Persephone knows their hand better than I do because they could see it, and they did not feel like they had any other options. So they got Aiden as low as they could before the match ended. But that will go to Big Aiden, ending our quarterfinals with Aiden winning that match 2-0. Congratulations, Big Aiden. And we're going to go back to our little between matches screen here while we figure things out. I'm going to switch back over to the Discord and hear Mish announce the results, and then we're going to move into our semifinals 1 match at a time so you guys can see these matches in their entirety, and we'll get those started here in just a second. So we're going to be doing these matches 1 at a time, and I guess we'll start with Theo and Rayon, and we'll play the match up top when you guys are ready, if you guys can start migrating that way.
my three factions are Dungeon Master, Plunder, and Emma Wild Horde.
Plunder is green.
It's red.
It's red. Okay. And the rest?
So red, green, purple.
Okay. Ban purple.
Okay. All right. What are you playing?
Purple, green, red.
All right. Let's ban purple.
One. Okay. Let's go.
All right, Dungeon Master ban for both players. Best of luck, everybody. And I will, again, mute player voices so we don't have any interactions that are...
All right, everybody. At this time, we've got Theo Angle versus Rayon. They have both banned the Dungeon Master faction. They've just started. Go ahead and turn into our YouTube channel if you're willing to watch.
All right, and we're getting started here. So we are in our first match of the semifinals. We got Theo Angle versus Rayon. And let me quickly make sure you guys can see the score, which it looks like you can. Perfect. All right, 0-0. Ooh, it looks like we've got two very early Stellar Shards. We've got Theo playing. I can't click his... There we go. It looks like he did do a Lava Red Whelp in, but also a Magi, and that's how he was able to, on turn 2, get one of the Stellar Shards out really, really quickly. And then on turn 3, with a reserve of his Whelp, was able to summon a second one. 2 Stellar Shards on the board are going to be a big threat for Rayon to get rid of early game. With only 3 mana, there's not a whole lot of options to get rid of him. That's why Stellar Shard is so strong. They are going to be pinging Theo every single turn for 2 damage, 1 each, but it's going to be negligible compared to the damage that they do. And we keep talking about how powerful an early game Stellar Shard can be, and we keep seeing it here in the finals. Looks like we got a weapon carrier buffing Rayon's hand. He decided to enhance to switch it to all attack. It looks like, by the way, we're playing MRA for Theo and a Plundering Guild deck for Rayon. He's going to go with a non-enhanced Frontline Squire to give another creature +1/+1. Right now, the tempo is definitely in Theo's favor. Rayon not having much options other than to chuck block at this point. He's going to need to try to stabilize as he gains more mana. A very, very good opening hand for Theo. I don't think he could have been any happier with the way that this is currently turning out. Depending on his deck, if he runs a deck list similar to the one that I run, he may also have a way to mobilize that Whelp out. So he put that in there knowing he can get it out later in the game. Rayon taking all the time he has on his defensive turn to make decisions about potentially what he's going to be doing next turn to try to combat this double Stellar Shard situation. If he does end up blocking the Energized Elemental, which he should, he's going to take the 2 damage, and he knows it, but that means one of these Stellar Shards is getting through. He's going to block the one that's already been damaged to try to get it even weaker and closer to death, so at least he can get one of these Stellar Shards off the board, and I think that that blocking decision was the right call. Into a Wandering Executioner that's been buffed up to 6 attack to nuke the one at full health off the board and allow him to now chuck block the second one if he needs to get it off the board as well. Theo doesn't seem too concerned playing his Monstrous Spore to get a little bit of card draw, as well as a Trapjaw Stump. Again, we got Rayon with the chuck block, and now he's handled that Stellar Shard situation, which was probably not the thing he wanted to see, and yet he's handling it with grace and trying to get back into this match. Beginning of his turn, he's got 5 mana. Board state isn't too threatening from Theo at this point. Plenty, it's anyone's game. 24 to 22 health. Rayon has been using his coins, though. So he's not going to have too many enhances himself. And by the way, if we didn't notice, he does have a reserves pile, and as we're seeing, he's got some MRA creatures in his deck, so he's a Plundering Guild MRA. We've got another Whelp, not the reserved one, hitting the board. Flyers are going to be a problem against most decks, but we've got 2 of the Cautious Hunting Parties here. We may see Lava Red Whelp start tapping for Activate to nuke these off the board. No point in trading into them when you can take 1 damage instead of 2. Or excuse me, 5. Did not notice that these Cautious Hunting Parties have been buffed from those early plays. Interesting choice. Oh, well, he had to because of the taunt. Definitely unfortunate. You wish that you could have gotten rid of the taunt first, then also hit that Whelp with that Fireball. But either way, he got rid of 2 of the creatures. And he's not too worried about the Whelp attacking because these Cautious Hunting Parties can handle them. But the Activate is going to nuke him off the board with the 2 damage, so that's a smarter move anyways. I think this Gorging Jelly, he was optimally hoping it was going to hit one of these Cautious Hunting Parties and maybe forgot about the taunt. But if not, then maybe that was his only option. Oh, I guess he had to do it to get rid of the taunt and then have the Activate make sure it hit the Cautious Hunting Party. That does make sense. See, these are the strategies these players have to think through to make sure that they're not making any misplays. Again, board state fairly even. Health is now significantly in Rayon's favor. He's got a reserve of 3 coins still to enhance any of the Plundering Guild cards he does have in hand. If he ends up getting enough removal to get rid of this Gorging Jelly, he's going to get his Tree Stump back as well, which is a great taunt creature to have. Protect this Cautious Hunting Party from any further damage. We're going to see an Enhanced Copy Mage. Copy a card in hand. Hopefully he hit what he wanted. Oh, followed by another Copy Mage non-enhanced. So some players, when they have multiple Copy Mages in hand, will try to dwindle their hand down and go for the Infinite Copy Mage combo. Rayon here, very, very confident that the better choice is to play them now and copy the rest of the cards in hand because those are going to be more valuable to him. Theo is running lower on cards. His deck seems to be very aggro, so it's not going to have as much card draw as some of the other decks. And if he keeps exploding this board state here and Rayon keeps having answers, Theo may find himself in a really tricky situation. Dead or Alive, take out the Tree Stump. It's as optimal as you could want it to be. Costs you only 1 mana and you gain the 2 coins. He's now up to 4. If he does attack and he attacks with that Tree Stump, the Trap Jaw is going to kill this Elemental before it, because the Elemental has to block the taunt first. The taunt ability, or the base ability from Trap Jaw is going to deal damage first. Oh, he's not even, he's going to, that seems like a misplay to me. He should have just attacked with the taunt creature, forced the block. The Tree Stump ability would have killed the Energize without killing the Trap Jaw, and then he would have also got the additional damage in from Gurm. Sometimes even here in the semifinals, quarterfinals, misplays happen. It's not going to make too much of a difference though this match. We're going to see a full-out attack here with lethal damage, and that will be game. First round going to Rayon. Congratulations. We've got more matches here in store, though. They're going to be swapping their decks up. Potentially, Theo will play the same one, but Rayon has to switch to his second deck here. Let me update that score. All right. We are seeing a MRA reserve here, so either this is the secondary. We don't see a coin. We don't see a Dungeon Master. It could be an Augur Order MRA, but I doubt it, so we're most likely seeing Theo play the exact same aggro deck here. And it looks like he's going to be playing Rayon's aggro MRA as well. And Rayon's aggro MRA looks like it's got a splash of Dungeon Master in it. Local Gravekeeper. So that is for a turn 2 on an aggro MRA deck. I don't think Gravekeeper is the card you want to be playing. which means that the hand that Theo's probably got is not the optimal hand. And Rayon here is still coming out hot. He's getting the hand he needs in this aggro versus aggro matchup. We are going to see a Vanguard, though, clear most of the board. Because Rayon has the Bone Brute in, though, when that Dungeon Instigator dies, he's going to get that free Mobilize. So this is still an optimal situation for Rayon. Chuck blocking the Vanguard is not a problem. Life is a resource as well. He may just tank it. But we're going to see him swing first. 24 health, 6 damage coming at him. He's thinking about which one to block. If to block at all. We're going to see the Whelp come out. He can use it for both removal and direct damage to his opponent if it sticks around. Whelp is definitely a versatility card, but with a health at only 3, there's a lot of removal that can handle it. Obviously, he hopes it sticks around, he gets the value out of it, but we'll see what Rand's got up his sleeve. Man, he had 2 energized elementals in reserves, and he played a sudden onslaught, which is going to mobilize both of them as well as the Bone Brute. Because of the spell was cast, giving the Bone Brute the increased damage as well. And then obviously the +1/+1 from the energized elementals ability. And a full all-out swing with a lot of damage getting through. Down to 10 HP. A solid board state. Both of these energized elementals getting removed is going to cause 2 damage. We see 1 there. The next one will bring him down to 6. It did cost him his Whelp to do it. Using the Outnumber proc on Serrated Stalker, he's able to remove the second one. Does take him down to 6, though. He has no flight, no ranged on board. Rayon running the aggro deck is likely at some point to start slapping down some bees. And that could very quickly become the end of this match. We're going to see a Whelp instead and a Skywatcher Sentry. 2 flight creatures that Theo is now going to have an answer for. He's going to banish one of them. The Whelp is definitely the smarter choice. He has no other mana. He's out of mana, though. He can't do anything about that Skywatcher Sentry at this point. The second Sudden Onslaught for a draw of 3 for Rayon. He's going to refill his hand a little bit, and we've got the Skywatcher Sentry coming in for a free 2 damage. Rayon still at 30 HP, is not considering or not worried at all about this crackback. We're still not seeing any ranged or flight, but we are seeing another removal. If Rayon gets rid of these Gorging Jellies, he's going to get those flight creatures right back. But it's really the only option Theo has at this point. He had to get rid of that flight. Rayon's still thinking. He's only got 4 damage left to go. He's not going to get it from amped creatures at this point. There's plenty of blockers on Theo's side of the board. He's already used 2 of his energized elementals as well. In his reserves, we only have 1 Skywatcher Sentry, so it's down to what he's got in hand. We know he's got to have bees in this deck, right? He's going to go with another slower play of the Whelp. Probably doesn't have the bees yet. If he did, he would have already played it. So he just really needs to get to that bee. Theo at least has a flyer on board now with the Lava Wrap Whelp. That's a solid top deck. I assume he didn't have that to begin with. Otherwise, he probably would have played it against the Skywatcher Sentry instead of wasting the Gordy Jelly on it. Oh, and we're going to see a Rallying Call, which if Rayon can get lucky enough with small casts here, he's going to be able to grow his board state. Every single time he summons a creature, he's going to draw a card and gain 1 mana. So these 2 1-mana creatures were basically free. And he's going to start drawing through his deck, searching for that bee. If he can find the bee, he wins this game. both the Lava Red Whelp and the Bee would have 4 attack flying, and there's only 1 flyer on Theo's side to block. He's still got 5 mana remaining, 3 cards in hand, but he's taking his time here to decide what he's going to play. Energized Elemental, if that dies, is another 2 damage. He's not playing the Bee yet, so he's just not getting to it. Maybe he doesn't have one in this deck. I would be very surprised if a aggro MRA deck is not running Bees. So he must just be really unlucky right now hunting for it. He's going to reserve Alcar in order to play Grow the Horde. And he's going to try to get the damage by swinging around here. So flyer for flyer, that's the easy choice right off the bat. And then we have 5 other attackers with 5 other blockers. So he will be able to negate all of this damage. Except for the 2 damage from the Energized Elemental. He will be able to block the rest of this damage successfully and not lose any of his Gorging Jellies in the process. So he's going to have a turn to respond, and the Totem of Droth. Excuse me, I said Rallying Call earlier, old name. Oh wait, what? I thought he had, oh, he didn't have enough blockers because of the serrated? That is it then. The 2 damage from the Energized Elemental was enough to make it the swing around lethal. So that's 2-0 to Rayon. GG's, congratulations. Well played, Rayon. Well played. Congratulations. We'll see you in the finals match up after the one we're about to watch. Congratulations. All right, everybody in chat, thank you guys for continuing to watch the stream and support us. We appreciate it. Make sure if you guys aren't already, please subscribe. We don't stream to the channel often, but we will be streaming our tournaments from here on out. You guys also might start seeing some lore videos dropping here in the near future. So make sure you subscribe so you guys are some of the first to watch those. We are going to be moving on to our next semifinals match here in just a second. So just wait patiently real quick while we get Mr. Twisted and Big Aiden ready to go. Mr. Twisted, Big Aiden, are you guys both ready?
Yes.
I'm ready.
All right, which decks are you playing and which are you going to be banning?
All right, Aiden. I have everything but MRA.
Me too.
What do you want to ban?
Dungeon Master.
All right, ban your Dungeon Master too.
All right. Dungeon Master banned again by both players. Good luck. All right, we're going to see both players. Looks like they're starting out with their... So it looks like Aiden's playing Plundering Guild Primary with a splash of MRA, while Twisted is playing the same. Plundering Guild Primary, splash of MRA. So we're looking at aggro plunder, I believe, for both sides. Mirror match here. We've got a Dead or Alive taking out the lowly defender into a pickpocket of Tomaral with a little bit of amped. Some increased damage from his previous buffs, as well as an enhanced Daring Swindler hitting the board. Another Daring Swindler enhanced hitting the board. That is his second of the match. First one enhanced. And we're getting another on mana curve Stellar Shard. These Stellar Shards so early. This is a mirror match if I've ever seen one. Both playing almost exactly the same deck, exactly the same cards in order. With Big Aiden having the turn 1 advantage, he may be able to continue to stay ahead of Twisted here. He's going to be 1 card short compared to Twisted, but he's going to have the ability to continue to remove the responses that Twisted is putting down on the board. He leaves that turn with 3 mana still. Not as efficient as you would want it to be, but again, we don't know what the cards are in hand, so we don't know why holding on to them is the best choice at this point. Maybe they're too expensive. Maybe he doesn't want to blow up the board state quite yet. he did use a little bit of removal, and we're seeing Twisted's response is going to be a little bit of board expansion himself, gaining board state advantage. Aiden didn't have enough for the fireball last turn, so now we're seeing it this turn. He obviously enhanced it with the coins that he's got. He's storing up to 7 at this point. He's got plenty of enhance or options to enhance in the future with that amount of coins. Most of the board state removed on Twisted's side, but we're going to see an enhanced Wandering Executioner that's also been buffed. Take out the Stellar Shard on Aiden's side. Quickly removed by his own Wandering Executioner, also slightly enhanced. And we're seeing a Energized Elemental get through, though, on its first turn amped attack. Life is a resource. Sometimes it's not optimal to block it the first turn, but you don't want it to stick around too long. Knowing he had a Vanguard in hand, though, it was a smarter choice for him to block the other creature and then Vanguard the board, followed by a Dead or Alive to completely wipe the board, reset this match. 17 to 28, though, still in Aiden's favor. A single Vanguard on the board is not much of a threat. Players' hands are about the same size. This match could still go either way. We're going to see a card theft here. He's going to play it immediately. He stole the Dead or Alive and enhanced it. We've got another Energized Elemental getting through on its swing. We also have 4 coins still remaining, so this Adventurous Farmhand is going to have a free summon of an Eager Farmhand. We're going to see another Vanguard take out those 1 health creatures, reset a little bit of the board state here. But the 2 damage from that Energized Elemental is continuing to wither Twisted down. Aiden is somebody who we've seen continually end up at the top of our monthly standard tournaments, and he's won more than he can count. When I was talking to him about it earlier today, he could go all the way today. He's definitely a fan favorite. I can see you guys cheering him on in the chat. We'll see if he has what it takes to keep pulling it out. Response with the fireball, resetting a little bit of the board state, as well as another Dead or Alive. So much removal and plundering guild. These board states are going to continue to shift back and forth, a little bit of ebbs and flows as these removal cards get issued. But we've seen quite a bit. I think that's his 3rd Dead or Alive because Aiden stole one. So we don't have any other Dead or Alives in Twisted's deck. But he probably has some more forms of removal, to include creature removal with King Ultron. Not only is he going to remove the creature, but he's going to steal a card. We didn't really get a chance to see what that is, but we'll see him play it here in a sec. Some free creature damage getting through. Aiden out of blockers. His hand size is now 4. Again, if Aiden can't stabilize here by continuing to build up these board states, continue to remove Twisteds, Twisted could very easily come back at this point. 11 health to 20 is not drastic enough of a difference to determine anything at this point. Board state advantage definitely in Twisted's favor. We're at 10 mana now, so big swings are going to be happening. We're going to see a Vanguard, but that's not going to really do too much right now. Play order does matter. He's obviously trying to play it first to avoid the Grave Robber taking the damage. He's going to steal a card and play it immediately. He's going to play that enhanced Wandering Executioner, take out that king to make sure there's no more trades, no more theft. We're going to see another Wandering Executioner hit the board. We don't need spells to do removal. We got creatures. Taking out the other Wandering Executioner, which Big Aiden stole from him. He says, you can't have it. If I can't have it, no one can, right? Still has 4 coins, so we're going to see another proc from Adventurous Farmhand summoning that Eager Farmer. We're going to get a little bit of card draw, which is drastically needed at this point in the match from this Monstrous Recruiter. Into another Daring Swindler. Both of these have the potential to steal cards from their opponent, or to create copies of cards from their opponent, giving them both a little bit of insight on what their opponent has in hand, as well as getting that advantage of whatever it is themselves. People don't bring dead cards into the semifinals of the championship tournament, so whatever that is probably of value. Especially in a mirror match like this, I'm sure they could both use whatever cards they steal. Monstrous Spore, summoning or drawing 2 more cards for Big Aiden. Into a Garanon, which is going to get him some health and some additional card draw here to get back in this game if that sticks around too long. We're going to see a similar play from Adventurous Farmhand that's been buffed by Twisted into the Eager Farmer. And we're going to see some attacks but we're not going to see any creature removal or spell removal, so that Garanon's going to stick around. That could definitely be a difference maker in this match if it sticks around too long. The additional card draw and additional health is going to be pretty clutch. Strategically blocking the Monstrous Spore with the Vanguard to not proc the ability to summon the Goblin. But now he's going to do the double block with his own Monstrous Spore, so he summons his own Goblin. Strategic play to gain a little bit of extra board state. Weapon Carrier buffing his hand. He doesn't have too many cards in hand, but if they're all creatures, they all just got their buff. Weapon Carrier again, and he's hitting double Bs. 12 damage, unblockable. That is lethal from Big Aiden. The B swing, it is huge. The double buff from the Weapon Carrier was enough to make that lethal. And we have a round 1 victory to Big Aiden. As I continue to change the scoreboard down below, it looks like it continues to be the right player who keeps getting the rounds. The left player has yet to win a round in the matches we've spectated so far. So maybe the left side is just the bad luck side. It looks like we just saw a card cycle, by the way, from Twisted. So he's playing his Augur Order deck, which we saw against Zoltron. So this will be the control deck that he runs with the Endless Merc Bands. And it looks like we're playing a little bit of Augur Order from Big Aiden as well. They both swapped. Twisted obviously could have continued with his aggro deck, but he decided to switch instead to his Augur Order deck. We're getting double Merc Band draws there from Big Aiden. So this might be another mirror match. Both players in the top end playing their Plunder aggro decks against each other and now playing their Augur control decks against each other. This will definitely be interesting. It's going to be a very similar matchup compared to the one that we saw before, Twisted against Zoltron, which was also a mirror match of Augur control. It's really going to come down to who can get their win condition growing faster, right? The Endless Merc Bands are already in Big Aiden's hand. He keeps cycling them back, keeps drawing into more. But he is at hand limit at this point. He needs to get some cards out of his hand. If he keeps drawing into more Merc Bands, he's going to end up with too many cards in hand. He's not going to be able to keep cycling. Rather than going for direct damage in this control versus control matchup, he decided to ping the Vanguard. Early Merc Bands. So as we saw in the last match, Twisted was the first one to get the Merc Bands growing. It looks like Aiden's going to be the first one here to get them growing. He had plenty in hand. We saw him draw into 3 or 4 duplicates at this point, and it's only turn 5. So he has plenty in hand, and he keeps probably cycling them back into his deck. Not too worried about it. And with the early plays on these free turns where he really doesn't have any threat on the opponent's side of the board, we just saw him play Resource Equalization. Opponent discards a random card, and then you draw a card. And he discarded, it looks like, Violent Repossession. And these piles sometimes. PC mode needs to get a little bit of a tune-up. We're going to see Breach of Term. It's going to be baited out by the Golden Silence. Pre-planned Prophecy. Changing the order of cards. Drawing 2. We don't see the procs on the Merc Band, so he's not doing that, but he did get something he wanted. We'll have to wait and see what that contract was. Both players with plenty of cards in hand, just thinking of what options they need. He's trying to see if there's another Breach of Terms there, but there is not. He's going to get the suppress off on a Endless Merc Band, which really doesn't do too much. The ability's already been procced. If anything, I would have put it on the Dark Omen to at least block the flight block, but I guess if Twisted doesn't have any of that in their hand anyways, it doesn't really matter. Suppress only affects the creature, does not affect the card. So the Endless Merc Band going to the graveyard is going to lose that suppress. It just really doesn't do anything. Do we see another resource equalization? So it looks like Twisted here, preparing for the mirror match, has put resource equalizations in their deck, and he's hoping to hit these opponent Endless Merc Bands. I don't see, I'm not sure exactly which card he hit with it. We're going to see a little bit of removal from Call of the Old Gods and some swings with the Endless Merc Band, starting to deal some damage, chucking away at the health. We finally see him below 30 HP. I see some comments in the chat. Not too uncommon. We have Raider Lou with his similar opinion that he always has about the game being imbalanced. As the creative director and lead game designer for the project, I keep giving similar responses, but I'll give it to you all now in case you're watching this movie or this tournament in playback. Right? We do have a lot of top-end competitive decks, but something you have to realize is this is a small, tight-knit community. Most of the decks that are shared or net decked are between the same players who play each other on a pretty regular basis. And they borrow deck lists from one another. We do have some people coming in with creative decks. Rayon being a perfect example, shaking up the meta, beating out his opponent, right, with his own unique deck. We are only at the core set of cards. As it continues to expand, there will be more. We've already announced several rebalances that are going to be coming out with the Crusade of Sun and Stone expansion, as well as 50 new cards that are going to shake up the meta and change up what decks people are playing. If you can be patient as those things happen, obviously, I think you'll be excited once it comes out. If you choose not to be excited about the expansion, then that's you. Your happiness is your own choice. Match continuing on here, drastically starting to shift into Big Aiden's favor, though. He's now got a Parchment Barrage up to give him additional card draw. He's dwindled his hand down a little bit, and he's getting it built back up, but that Parchment Barrage could lead to card discards if he doesn't keep playing cards at a fast enough pace. But he's not too worried about it. He's got the Endless Merc Bands on board. Looks like Pacifist was hit once from the Avatar piece, which is now banished. The other Endless, yeah, both Endless Merc Bands currently on board have Pacifist, 0 attack on the Ornament, so the board state is kind of nullified for Twisted at this point. He's okay with the creatures that remain on the board. We're going to see a reiteration proc on the Restorative Alchemy, so we know that there's another one in his hand. He's going to start trying to gain some life back and stabilize here. What was that one? Got another Endless Merc Band continuing to grow the army. I don't think we've seen a single Endless Merc Band yet from Twisted. But Big Aiden is continuing to grow his Merc Bands in the process. We also have a Ritual of Annihilation with 3 turns I ignored earlier. I did not see that. That is enough to deal lethal damage if we don't have a Royal Filibuster, but I'm sure we do. For Twisted, he might be waiting and holding on to. 2 turns now. Was that damage he just dealt? Dark Matter Blast, looks like. No? Yeah, down to 8 from 9. Interesting. Just the ping for 1. We have another Reiteration proc. He's trying to get even more of the Restorative Alchemies. He's going to instantly play the second one. He's just trying to gain that life, get above the 20 damage, survive this Ritual of Annihilation potentially. We're going to have a pre-planned Prophecy. Looking at the top 2 cards, discarding 2 back. The card draws, got him an Endless Merkband. He's going to start growing his army. If he can grow it fast enough, he might be able to get back into this thing. Plenty of spells cast that turn, so we know the spell pending over here is not a breach of terms. Small damage pings against the Avatar of Peace. Either to get rid of the taunt or just to keep dwindling it down. Looks like just to keep dwindling it down. Aiden also taking the opportunity to summon more Endless Merkbands, keep growing his board state. Twisted drawing into another Endless Merkband. We know he's got it in hand. Ritual of Annihilation goes off successfully, dealing 20 damage, bringing him down to 4 into Pact of Non-Aggression, which is going to bring him right back up to 14. Saving himself from being too close to lethal, but he still has to deal with this wall of Merkbands that Aiden keeps growing. If he can grow his own fast enough himself, he can get back into this. We're not sure. We got another contract going up, not immediate activate. We're going to see Aiden start trying to force some trades here. All of those life elixirs summoned or placed in the deck earlier are now starting to pay off into another Merkband draw. He needs to start getting some of these cards out of his hand because he is approaching max hand limit. Another life elixir, putting him up to 22, getting farther and farther away from lethal range. So much so he's going to even ping himself with a little bit of damage. Pre-planned Prophecy again. The draw 2 didn't proc a Merkband this time. Passing it over to Aiden. We've got 10 mana now per turn, so we're going to start seeing some bigger swings. Avatar Piece hits the graveyard after a Call of the Old Gods, pings it for its final health. We have Pacifist on 2 of his Merkbands. All three Merkbands have Pacifist at this point, and 0 attack from his Dark Omen, so Aiden can't attack even if he wanted to at this point. While Twisted is now taking the opportunity to start growing his Merkbands. He's still a few Merkbands behind, but at least all of his are still able to attack. Passing his turn back to Aiden. 7 mana remaining on his turn, so Twisted is playing it slow. He's got plenty of cards in his hand, so he had options available, but he's probably playing a little more reactive than aggressive at this point. Trying to make sure he's defending his life points well enough, keeping up with the pace of Merkbands that Aiden's been putting down. Potentially has some more Avatars of Peace in his hands. He's waiting for Aiden to summon some creatures so that way he can hit them. Looks like Aiden's got the Avatar of Pieces as well, and he's going to end up pacifying 2 Merkbands on the opponent's side of the board. If you can't discard them from the deck or hand to get them out of the match, pacifying them on the board works just as well. Aiden drew into a Merkband but didn't get the duplicate because of his max hand size. He's going to need to start getting rid of some cards so that way he doesn't have that happen again. Both are playing a Royal Filibuster, so it's going to extend that effect out a full extra cycle. From the chat, we got Lucky asking, who's winning? It's anyone's game at this point. Right now, we have a health advantage in Big Aiden's favor as well as a board state advantage technically, but this could very easily turn back around. Life is a resource. Twisted is using it wisely. He's gotten down to 4 and back up to 21 at this point. He was higher even a little bit ago. Health exchange can happen pretty quickly in these kinds of matches. Control versus control is big brain deck plays. So these guys are thinking like 5 moves in advance in chess right now. Got the Vanguard wiping out a couple creatures on the board. Big Aiden maintaining his board state in advance. We got even more life elixirs though proccing. We've got a max hand size from Twisted though, so he's got to be careful. He's going to have to play some of these cards. He's going to use his Necromancies to summon one of his Merc Bands back to buff the rest, as well as his Avatar of Peace to nullify the new creatures that hit the board. We are sitting at now again a full board, or not full board, but all the creatures on Aiden's board are hit with pacifists and unable to attack, so they are effectively non-threats. Dark Omen Spyhawk with 0 attack and pacifists already itself. Twisted doesn't even need to deal with that. Three contracts up for Aiden as well. Is that a Great Revitalization? So he's going to hit that Avatar of Peace with his Great Revitalization, dealing the 9 damage, I believe, was his Avatar piece, and healing for 9 as well, getting up to 51, setting him down. He's now at 1851 differential of health or life. Another contract up, activated immediately. It's a Parchment Barrage. We already have a lot of cards in Twisted's hand. He was just at max hand size, but he's going to be probably playing a lot of cards here, and he wants to make sure he replenishes in future turns. He's going to kill some creatures off. And we're looking at now new Merc Bands hitting the board. 7 attack, 8 attack. Twist is going to have to do something about them. We're going to see the mirror plays again of the Royal Filibusters to try to delay. We're killing off the creatures that we can. He's using reparations here to remove the 5 attack or less creatures, and he's hitting the pacified creatures on the board, which in my opinion is the wrong call. I would have cycled it for the secondary ability of the -2 attack and potentially hit one of the Merc Bands that's still on the board. The pacifist creatures aren't something you're too worried about, unless you think your opponent's going to suppress their own creature, which I guess their decks do run Golden Silence sometimes, so that is potentially a possibility, but it's only, I don't know. $15 damage coming at him. He's going to have to block that. Aiden's still with 4 mana remaining to see if he's going to make a choice. Oh, he's pulling back his attack. He decided against that. Parchment Barrage, drawing the 2 cards. One is a Merc Band, giving him the duplicate. He's going to cycle it, draw right back into another one. He's now at max hand size. He's going to have to get those out of his hand. He's going to blow that board up a little bit with some endless Merc Bands of his own. He's now starting to catch up to Big Aiden. This match could quickly turn around back into Twisted's favor. Vanguard hitting the board. Very few creatures at 1 HP. He's going to get rid of at least one of Twisted's creatures. Second Vanguard taking out 2 more and allowing him to swing with all of his Merc Bands, forcing Twisted to block, but Twisted has Merc Bands with less attack, so he's only going to be able to trade with 2. Or 3? All 3? No, 2. What? 3. Oh, he was able to successfully trade all 3. We're seeing a Necromancy, probably bringing one of those Merc Bands right back, buffing the rest, as well as we're going to get a reiteration on the Necromancy to get an extra copy. He's going to summon another Endless Merc Band, buffing, which now I believe puts him ahead. He is now ahead of Big Aiden on Merc Bands. Playing the extra 2 from his hand, cycling 1 back into his deck and drawing into another. So he's got 2 more in hand, and he's got his Merc Bands now up to 11-11 or 12-12, the ones he's drawing into. And it looks like Aiden summons another one. It's only at 10-10, so we are in fact ahead on Twisted. This could start shifting into Twisted's favor here if this keeps getting out of control. Very few cards left in the deck. He's going to draw into those life elixirs very quickly, as well as every time he cycles these endless merc bands, he's going to continue to draw back into them. Life elixir into another card, which is not a merc band. But now we've got it up to 14-14 in the deck / hand, 13-13 on the board. He's going to start putting that pressure on Aiden. And as some of these endless merc bands start getting through, we are going to see Aiden start to struggle and lose a lot of life. Endless Merc Band was a card that, when first initially introduced, was criticized as being too slow of a card to play, not worth it, but once people found out that it was a great win condition in control decks, it's now seen in this kind of high-level play. It's always interesting to see these cards, especially as balance adjustments come out, shift from being non-used into very meta. Back to max hand size. One creature or one of the merc bands went to the graveyard because he's just got too many cards in hand. He's going to keep summoning those merc bands though. Board state now full. 17-17 is the highest in deck in hand, and he's going to full out board swing with what he can. Aiden's going to be forced to chuck block what he can to avoid this damage. He can't block all of it, and he's going to lose his merc bands in the process, I believe. Nope, he's going to be able to survive with those blocks. But he is going to take 8 damage, and he is now out of cards in his deck, and he's going to be suffering from mana burn here. Twisted, who was on his last leg at 4 HP at one point during this match, has now taken a significant board advantage, regaining control of the board state with his Endless Merc Bands. A final spell, though, is going to nuke them off the board and kind of reset the state. Both players now out of cards in deck. Both have Endless Merc Bands in hand. We're going to see Twisted cycle 1 back in to get an extra copy. It's drawn immediately. We're going to see an early Avatar of Peace play, which is not going to get any benefit from the 2 enemies getting pacifist, but he's doing that to avoid the mana burn. He played the 9 mana to avoid the mana burn. He's trying not to summon, I think, his Endless Merc Bands yet, because he wants to cycle them a couple more times to make additional copies. Because that's what it's going to come down to, and that's the answer, right? He saved it so he could play the pre-planned Prophecy, which lets him draw 2 cards. There aren't any, and he's going to discard 2. He's going to put those back in the deck. And then what he's putting in is those Endless Merc Bands, so he can get even more copies and try to overwhelm this board state again. Aiden doing something similar, cycling his Endless Merc Band. If he doesn't have as many Merc Bands in hand, though, Twisted's going to continue to climb away, because in order to keep making copies, you got to keep 1 in hand. He's going to be able to summon 2 this turn, though, but he's going to take 4 damage in the process. He did not spend all of his mana, so he took that 4 damage. Endless Merc Band now up to 15-15 on board for Aiden, but it's up to 19-19 for Twisted. Both continuing to cycle back and forth. If either attacks first, the trades are not going to go in their favor, so they're both just passively waiting here for their opportunity. A final spell discarded from Twisted's hand, which was a clutch discard, but I think he was really hoping for it to hit Endless Merc Band instead. That final spell, though, could have been detrimental to Big Aiden as well, so it's not a bad hit. Vanguard, not going to really do anything, but it is a summon. More Endless Merc Bands. A contract up. We're not sure what that is. Not active immediately. A little bit of ping from the mana burn. Or was that 0? We've got a Royal Filibuster up. No life gain, no life lost this turn. He doesn't have to spend it. Parchment Barrage now active for Twisted. Really doesn't do anything. He's just getting it out of hand and spending the mana to try to avoid the mana burn. Both players struggling against this mana burn at this point. They're summoning more Merc Bands, trying to cast them to avoid the mana burn. With the changes that happened to some of our spells recently, you can no longer go infinite with the discard mechanic. So they have to keep summoning creatures, or they're going to start taking damage from this mana burn. Twisted, being at the lower health, might be a little bit worried about that, but he is growing a bigger board state. Once both board states are full, he can definitely start swinging without any kind of concern. His opponent summoning Endless Merc Bands without Amped means he's not too worried about the crackback as long as he can block. So if he keeps slowly attacking like that, he is going to be able to get through these defenders. The final spell is going to wipe the board though, because Big Aiden sees that and he knows that he can't keep up. He's just trying to get Twisted to take that mana burn before him. No creatures on board, but Twisted playing the final spell because he just wants to spend the 10 mana to avoid the mana burn. He's trying to also not spend his mana right now on the Merc Band, so he can continue to make additional copies like he's about to do right now. And that way he can play him on this turn, so that way he can burn through enough of his mana to not take full damage. We're going to see 3. He's got 1 left in hand. Big Aiden doing the same thing. Cycling, creating an additional copy mage. He only has 1 in his hand right now, and so he can only put down an additional 1. He's taking the damage though. He played 3 mana, so he took 7. Health is about even at this point. It's getting really, really close, neck and neck. But we're going to start seeing exactly Twisted with these attacks. Aiden's going to have to block, and he's not going to survive. Which is going to lead to Twisted being able to attack without really any defenders on the opponent's side. If he doesn't have another final spell, this is going to be over pretty quickly here. The mana burn is not going to kill Twisted fast enough. Additional copies. Final spell exactly when needed. Both players are slowing down their Endless Merc Band summons. They're both on the same kind of pace right now. Big Aiden will be able to summon 3 this turn to avoid the mana burn. Or 2 this turn, sorry. He's got to keep the 1 in hand for him to cycle. So he's only taking the 4 damage. Twisted should now be able to play 2 as well, which is going to leave him with only taking the 4 damage. Neck and neck here. Aiden strategically thinking this through. He's making quick plays. I think he still knows exactly what he needs to do to win this. If he keeps delaying this damage just long enough, Twisted is going to take that 4 damage from mana burn, and it's going to be match over. He's only taken the 4 because he was able to summon the 2. We're seeing the additional copies. Twisted has to avoid that mana burn this time. He's going to play the final spell for the full 10. So he's going to take 0 mana burn. Aiden, again, shuffling the copy back into his deck. He's playing a Contract, which he's been holding on to. Single summon, he's going to take the 5 damage down to 7. But if Twisted doesn't have enough mana here, he's going to be able to summon 1. Potentially, he's going to have to summon the other, which is going to cause him to no longer be able to infinitely cycle. This is it. We're at the final points of this match. He's going to take the 1 damage. If Aiden can delay and block these creatures, which he's going to be able to by summoning the creatures of his own, taking 4, going down to 3. Twisted can't spend the mana. Aiden can block. This is going to be a win in Aiden's favor. Aiden's going to win. Wow, that was close. Twisted, well played. You almost came back from that 4 health all the way back to the end there. It was neck and neck. That is incredible. Well played. This is what we expect in the semifinals types of matches, guys. All right, everybody. I am going to quickly switch back over to our pause screen while we get our next match set up, and then we'll get that ready for you guys. GG's to Aiden. Well played, well played. Twisted, don't go anywhere. We'll still have you compete in the 3rd place match after this next one. And we'll be watching you there. That was so close. You were down to 4 HP at one point. You almost came back up and won that. It got down to neck and neck, literally the final turn. That was well played, well played. It was a great game. Mirror match. You guys both played it fantastically. Something we like to see here in the semifinals. Definitely high skill level play. All right, do we got our next matchup ready? Looks like we've got Theo and Rayon next. Are they both ready? What? Oh, that's right. My bad. So it's Theo versus Twisted. All right, Twisted versus Theo. This is for third place.
All right.
Let me
Theo,
switch
I
my
got
screen over so
everything.
they can hear you guys. All right, which decks are you playing and what are you banning?
I got everything but MRA.
Alright, we'll ban the Dungeon Master. I got everything but Augur Order.
Everything but Augur Order. I'll ban your dungeon.
Dungeon Master bans again from both players. Good luck to both of you. We'll be watching. All right, we're going to mute the audio and let these two folks get underway. Reset that scoreboard. And here we go. All right, so we got Plundering Guild deck from Theo to start off against Mr. Twisted. Looks like we got a Augur Order deck from Mr. Twisted again. We're going to see that playing against the Plunder and see how that holds up. Even though we're seeing Plunder, I haven't seen an aggro play yet from Theo, so I'm not sure. It should be his aggro Plunder deck, correct? Or no, it doesn't have the MRA Splash. I must be thinking of a different deck from a different player. Or maybe not. Maybe we are seeing an aggro here. I swore the aggro deck had the splash of Monsters' Rights, though. We're seeing a second pickpocket of Tomarol with the Ant swinging an attack. It's crazy how everybody's banning the DM decks, even though they know it's something that people are going to be bringing. The counters would be something that you could definitely plan for in a tournament like this if you know everyone's bringing their DM Mastery decks. We're going to see the life gain instead of the cycle, but we are at max hand size already for Twisted. He's got to start playing some of those cards. Vanguard clearing the board. A little bit of back and forth. We're already turned 6. Not a whole lot has happened. Pretty sure we just saw Dead or Alive get stolen. Or was that Dead or Alive? What was that? I'm thinking of I'm getting all mixed up here, guys. Both players with a lot of cards in hand, not a whole lot on the board. Theo knows he's playing against a control deck, so he's potentially trying to avoid playing too much of his cards from his hand early so he can try to blow up the board later and make it more difficult for Twisted to keep control of the board state. A little bit of damage. Vanguard's going to wipe out both creatures on each side, but Vanguard will be remaining. Not really a target Twisted's too worried about, so he's going to play his Endless Merc Band and get them ramping up early. Those of you guys watching the stream, let me know in chat. Who are you guys voting for? Twisted or Theo for third place? In this cash prize tournament, you gotta place top 3 in order to get the cash prize, exclusive props, and the prestige. Who do you think's got it? See Slice of Bread? He's voting for Mr. Twisted. Theo's been holding his own this entire tournament. So is Twisted, though. So this is going to be a close one for sure. First match of the series. Still pretty neck and neck. Nothing too crazy. We got a Dread Experiments for the card draw off that Vanguard. You really don't need it for attack, so definitely using it for the card draw is not a bad choice. Gotta love these intimidating table pets. Love it when the players flex the cosmetics. We got a couple people voting for Twisted. We got some voting for Theo. It's going to be pretty close. If you're just tuning in, you're not familiar, our cash prize for a championship tournament today, First place is going to win $100 as well as an exclusive first place gold in-game trophy. They will also be winning the in-game title of champion once we have support for titles in-game. It'll be similar to how you see Michelada in the background having a community manager, a patron of the old gods above and below her name. Players will be able to have titles in the future based on their accomplishments and achievements, and champion will only be attainable by those who win the championship tournament, which we will have one per season. It will be a very exclusive title. Second place is going to get $50, and third place will get $25. They can exchange that for gems in game if they want, and it will be for an exchange rate higher than what you can buy gems for normally from your from the store. But that is up to the player whether they would rather have the cash prize or the gems. We would love to get to a point where we increase these cash rewards in the future. As a small indie dev studio, still growing the game. This is kind of what we can do right now, but in the future we're going to look at options to try to grow those and bring in even more competitive players. Match has been progressing slowly. Still not a whole lot going on. Just exchanges back and forth, little pings here and there. Twisted's gained some life back, so the damage that he's taking is practically negligible. They're 24 to 28 health differential right now. Avatar piece coming out, nullifying some of these creatures on the board. He's hitting... Interesting. He decided not to hit the pickpocket and instead hit Missionary Vanguard. I don't know why. The pickpocket with the 3 attack being pacified is probably the better call of that. Missionary Vanguard was not really much of a threat, but we'll see. I might be missing something. There's always a lot of pressure in these tournaments. Misplays happen all the time. But there's also chances that I don't know what's going on, right? Through Twisted's head, and he may have a strategy in mind. But not putting pacifist on the pickpocket is going to allow it to attack. Now he's going to have to block it with his Avatar piece and take 3 damage instead of the 1 that Vanguard would have dealt. Avatar piece now with 1 HP on its last leg, but it's doing its job, delaying this game out long enough for Twisted to continue to control the board and get these Merc bands going. Speaking of which, we're going to see him summon another one. It's up to 5-5, 7-7, so he's got 8-8 now on these Merc bands. He's growing them quick. 2 contracts in play. We don't know what they are yet, but I'm sure we'll see here soon. Fireball going to take out both creatures, leaving a free swing for Executioner at 5 attack. Been buffed up. Bring him down to 19. Health is a resource. Swiss isn't too worried about losing health. We saw him last match get down to 4 and almost come back and win that. 19 is definitely much more comfortable. Theo, though, is kind of, I think he's playing like what we're calling the plunder control deck. And so it's a little bit slower paced as well. But it doesn't have, I don't believe, the Merc bands to go infinite. So he needs to figure out his win condition here quickly. We see that he's got a splash of Dungeon Master with these Dark Matter Blasts in the graveyard. Both his Zealous are already dead as well, so he's not going to get the return on those spells. I think as long as Twisted can stay alive here, his win condition is better prepared. Ooh, but we're going to see an amped King of Alteron. Which it's better to attack with and force the Avatar to block so that it dies rather than using its ability. So that's a smart choice by Theo. Using the ability and then attacking with the other 2 would have allowed it to still block 1 anyways. But you wouldn't have gotten the kill regardless. Vanguard taking out the King Alteron. And we're going to have reparations take out that Garanin. So now we have no more life gain on card draw, as well as no more additional card draw from activates for Theo. It's a really important takedown for Twisted there. Contract going active is the Parchment Barrage. We got additional card draw every turn, as long as Twisted continues to cast more spells than Theo. We're going to see a Necromancy, though, bring back a Copy Mage, which has been buffed, but non-enhanced. And it's going to bring... Oh, and we've got the Infinite Copy Mage combo going off. Theo able in these semi-final matches to be able to pull off the infinite copy mage. It's dwindling down. It's wait, did he go infinite? Wait a second. So I think he's infinite. But he didn't hit this one with it to reduce its cost. So either he's got 3 in hand or he decided to copy mage something else. That is, if he didn't go infinite copy mage here when he had it as an option for him, that'll be very surprising. He's going to play the other 2 cards out of hand and then infinite copy mage. Yes. So here we're going to see the infinite copy mage go off, and that is potentially going to give him the win condition ahead of Mr. Twisted. Twisted is now going to be extremely pressured to try to keep up. If you're not familiar with the game, the way infinite copy mage works is Jaeger copy mage on entrance will add a copy of a random card in your hand to your hand. So if he has another copy mage in hand, it will copy it. While enhanced, it's also going to reduce that cost of that card, which is going to get the copy mage down. As you see, the final ones being summoned are 0 mana. So he will be able to summon infinite, well, up to 10 copy mages at 4/2 stat lines every turn to fill up his 10 slots on the board. Even if Twisted were to final spell, he would be able to regrow it back. It doesn't have amped, doesn't have ranged, doesn't have restless. That's sometimes a common tactic that you'll see with the Endless Copy Mage combo, which makes it even more lethal and scary. But now he'll be just a turn behind every time blowing up the board. He'll freely be able to trade into his opponent's cards. The only downside is he needs to keep getting rid of whatever additional cards he draws every turn. So if he draws a card that causes him to draw even more, he won't be able to expand the board that turn if he doesn't have enough board space, mana, etc. We see he has 1 card remaining, so he's not able to summon infinite this turn. But he's already got a very large board state. And he's going to start swinging at his opponent when he gets a chance. But final spell's going to nuke the board. We're going to see a reiteration, so that way he gets an additional final spell, so Twisted can do that one more time. Again, Theo's going to have to play these cards in hand. He's copying the reiteration, and he's just burning through the cards to get them out of his hand, so that way he can play the infinite copy mage. And it looks like he drew his other copy mage, so now he's got 3 copy mages in hand, which means even if Theo, which we know in his deck, he has resource equalizations, he's played 2 already in his graveyard, he may have 1 more. Even if he were to play that right now and to try to get rid of the infinite copy mage combo, Theo has 3 in hand, so he is now protected from that counter. He's going to blow up the board, 10 creatures. They can't attack this turn, but they will be able to attack next turn. If he final spells again, it's just wasting his turn, so he's going to have to see what he can do here. He is going to block 2 creatures. He chooses both that have 4 health or 4 attack, which is the smart move, not the 2 attack. He's going to be able to double block at least 2 more. 2, 4, 6, 8. Why didn't Theo keep playing the summoned creatures the last turn? Did we see it? Was there a removal that turn? There wasn't. So Theo did not chose not to go to 10 that turn. There may be a reason for that. We don't know. So he's going to make the attack with all the creatures that he can. The 2 with pacifist obviously can't attack. He's still got space on the board, so he's going to summon an extra. He had a 4th card in hand, so that copy mage could have hit whatever the 4th card is. The double block from Avatar of Peace is going to be able to stop 8 of the damage, but the rest of that is all getting through, and it's bringing him down to 8 health. He's going to need an answer here very soon. While the wall of Endless Merc Bands is big, Theo can block them every single turn, but having that board state is going to definitely slow this down. So even though there's multi-block on the Avatar piece, it only has 1 HP, so it's only going to block once. We're going to see cards stolen here. I don't know what the card was. We'll see here in a little bit. We're going to see another card stolen. This one's going to be by choice. And I think it's the resource equalization. might be trying to do the same thing, get rid of the Endless Merc Bands from Twisted. He's going to attack with everything he can, leave a couple blockers to block what's currently on the board. He knows Endless Merc Band also doesn't have amped, so he can get these creatures to start chipping away at the blockers. It's going to take out at least the Avatar of Peace, and then just slowly start chunking down at these Endless Merc Bands. And once those defenders are gone, the endless infinite copy mage combo is going to be able to break through and deal that lethal. Comments from DDR Cat in the chat. At these higher level plays, when the infinite copy mage combo goes off, it looks like players are strategically now not blowing up the entire board with all 10 copy mages. So if they do draw into a creature, they can play it again. It's not a bad choice. I feel like with most of the copy mage combos I run, even if I draw into a creature and can't play it, I'm also not trying to do more infinite copy mage that turn. And so having the full board state of copy mages is fine. Attacking into with a couple creatures, having them die, and then making the room when necessary. On future turns, the extra 4 damage that you could do on the swing the turn after their summon, I think, is more vital to me. So I would view it as a misplay. And really, again, it depends on what Theo's got in hand, what his strategy is. How I play is not exactly how everybody else might play. Even more creatures getting removed. Theo's still got cards in hand, so he's not able to keep doing the copy mage combo right this second. He's got to get rid of some of those extra cards. But he is able to still summon the Executioner, get rid of another Endless Merc Band. Copy mage combo is really strong, but it is not impossible to beat. I think we'll have to save this VOD here if Twisted can pull this off for sure, to show everybody whoever complains about Infinite Copy Mage being too broken, too OP in high level competitive play. It is still a strong combo when successfully pulled off, but it's not easy to get to that point. And even when you get to that point, you see decks like this that go toe to toe with it. So Theo's got to burn the extra cards in hand in order to get the Copy Mage going again. So he's just going to start pinging with a little bit of damage, even if he can't get the removal off. We're going to see him summon that Adventurous Farmhand. He didn't have the coins because he enhanced. He'd rather do the extra damage to the Endless Merc Band. But now he's going to get the Infinite Copy Mage going off. He's going to blow up the board state. Again, my recommendation would be obviously to fill the board state, but we'll see if he stops short again. He's at 8, 9. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he is going to leave a space open. He feels that is the more strategic play for him. Again, at 23 HP and limited number of blockers, even if Theo were to have enough Merc Bands in hand, he can't summon 3 every single turn if he wants to keep going infinite with the Merc Bands. But even at summoning 3, you would be able to start getting around them, especially early. Like right now, if he had 1 extra attacker right now, he'd be able to potentially go around. But he would take the crack back, so he can't just all-out attack. So it doesn't really make too much of a difference. We're going to see the discard into the life gain. Keep going with these Endless Merc Bands. He's down to the bottom of his deck. So he's going to continue to get these Merc Bands to make additional copies. Theo is going to kill his own Copy Mage in order to summon an additional one. Or he killed something. I think it was the weaker Copy Mage that was down here. Silence isn't really going to do anything to the Copy Mage. He's just doing it to do it. Gain the 2 life. Now we're at a out of cards situation for Theo. He can go infinite with Copy Mage, but he's going to start taking damage from this mana burn very quickly. And the Copy Mage combo is broken anyways. Theo played his resource equalization. Oops. Just so I can pull it up on the screen for you guys. Opponent discards a card, you draw a card. He played that and forced Theo to discard one of the Copy Mages and leaving him with only one in hand, no cards in deck. This is going to be end of game. He's going to continue to take the damage every turn. Twisted has successfully beat the infinite Copy Mage combo here in the third place match in our championship tournament. Congratulations, Twisted, for turning that around. We are now 1-1 down to our last match. That is our first. Did Theo win? Theo won the first one, right? Was there a first one? I can't remember. Did I not update the score of the last one, or was that the first match for this third place? GG Theo. I think that was the first one. So first match goes to Twisted. Yeah. DDR Cat, what? Twisted is OP. He beat the unbeatable deck. Yeah, Copy Mage is strong, but it is beatable. Even when the combo goes off. And most of the time, if people play decks that are dedicated to Copy Mage, you can't succeed in getting the combo the majority of the time. Definitely going to the VOD and linking in the chat every time somebody says it is OP. Unbeatable. Never doubted Twisted, says Flake. It's not over yet. It's the first battle of the series, but there's still plenty of battle here to go. It looks like this time we're seeing the MRA splash of probably Plunder deck, right? So this is going to be the aggro. And we're also matching against another aggro deck here. MRA Plunder. Life right now is in Theo's advantage, but board state was Twisted. So with that Stellar Shard, I would say we're pretty close to even at this point, but it is Twisted's turn to respond, so we'll see what he can do. Wandering Executioner breaking down the health of that Stellar Shard to 2. He's going to get double blocked. Very interesting choice. Theo really did not want that Eager Farmer sticking around. He's going to banish his own Stellar Shard, so that way it gets resummoned at full health. It's such a lethal card early game that rather than keeping it on the board right this second, he can block one of his enemy creatures, die on purpose at this point. Oh, but Twisted says no, summons his own Gorging Jelly to banish Theo's Gorging Jelly, which makes it so that way the Stellar Shard that was tucked away is now gone forever. And it's going to give him a free attack at Theo's health down to 19. Twisted with health advantage and significant board state advantage. He's not going to, he can't banish the Gorging Jelly at this point because it would, there we go. But if he banishes, unfortunately, by banishing the Wandering Executioner, once Gorging Jelly dies, it's going to resummon it, and it's going to have its ability proc again to deal that 4 damage. New Wandering Executioner, dealing damage, executing. Oh, well, actually, he wiped the board, so unfortunately, Twisted had to deal damage to his own creature, but he doesn't really care because he's still swinging through with 8 damage, direct damage. This match is going much, much faster. Both people playing aggro decks. Theo with the Monstrous Spore to get a little bit of card draw into the Gurm. He's just looking for defenders at this point to try to stabilize. Twisted is just saying, no, no, no. I'm attacking with 3 amped creatures this turn. Pickpocket a Tomarol, 2 Energized Elementals, even if blocked, are going to deal an additional 4 damage. And that is lethal. Very quick match here for our third place winner, and third place is going to Twisted. Well played. Let me hide that score here, turn the audio back on. Well played, guys. That first match was very intense. That second one, though, went really quick. Congratulations to Twisted for placing third.
Thank you.
Yeah, the first match, if he hadn't discarded my
Copy mage.
Potion of the Weld with the resource equalization, I would have had. That second
true,
one
true, true.
there,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's too much. I couldn't keep up with it. I had all my my late game in my hand, so
Yeah, it
all my
was.
late, I
Maggie
had
and
all
stuff.
these in my hand early on, so I couldn't deal with what he had going on.
It's one of the downsides. Is that? I mean, that deck seems like it was also designed to be more of an aggro deck.
Congrats on third, big game.
It
you,
makes
bro.
people think
Yeah.
it's an aggro deck, but it's not.
Oh wait.
Okay. Is it
Very
a
still-
like
no.
tempo deck where it can be aggro but shifts to mid range?
Who's the last
Yeah,
two?
it can be aggro, but it's got your mid and late game in there with a
Yeah,
lot of
Aiden
high
Rayon
priority
played two
targets.
versus
So when
Aiden.
you get stuck into a late game match, you're still able to compete instead of fizzling out.
Feels very similar to my creature tempo deck that I've got that I run a lot. It's one of my favorites. So definitely a great deck, very interesting. Unfortunate that you had the late game card draws too early, but either way, GG's Twisted on third place. We'll be coordinating with
Games.
Michelada here for you to get your rewards unlocked here after the tournament ends. But we still got to watch the final match to see who places first and who
Yup.
places second here in our championship tournament. So please stick around, and we'll watch that here shortly.
I will.
I can hear you now.
Aiden.
Yeah.
All right. Chat, for those of you guys watching, we're going to get the final setup here, and we're going to figure out who is going to be our champion for our early access season 0 plus championship tournament. And will be the first player, I guess, well, all the old champions will get their title as well, but we'll have yet another player earn the prestigious title of champion here in just a bit. So please keep sticking around. Let us know who you guys think is going to win in the chat. We have our final matchup between Rayon and Big Aiden. If you guys haven't seen Rayon, he's been streaming recently. I believe he is one of our Italian players. So definitely check out his stuff. And hopefully we can see maybe an upset here. Those are always kind of fun. But Big Aiden, as a fan favorite, I'm sure he's won many a tournaments here in the Cards and Tankards community. Will he be our champion today? Let's find out. All right, Rayon and Big Aiden, are you two ready? All right, go ahead and step up to your sides of the table. We'll get this started.
I have purple, green, and red.
Wait, sorry.
He's asking for
Yeah.
color of faction because he doesn't know the English names.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry.
well, I have purple, blue, and red.
I ban blue.
Okay. What do you have?
Purple, red, and green.
Oh, purple.
Okay.
So Augur Order Band and Dungeon Master Band. Very interesting. We didn't see a double DM band, so let's see how this plays out. Best of luck to both of you. Make sure I turn off my audio. All right, and our first battle of the finals is now taking place between Big Aiden and Rayon. Starting out with a Dungeon Master deck, not running Mastery, but in fact running Lich. We're going to see what kind of Lich deck he's running, whether it be Lich Spam or Bone Lich. We've got an undead creature already, so we may see some bones here. Maybe a hybrid of both, maybe some Mastery. Most people have been banning DM all day, so we haven't had a chance to really see this deck quite yet. Rayon, though, is going to be running, it looks like, an aggro MRA deck of his own, / Plunder. Plunder MRA deck. So we'll see if he's able to defeat Big Aiden before Big Aiden can really start popping off. Bill in the chat asking where you can see the rewards. If you join our Discord at discord.gg/cardsandtankards, you'll be able to check out the event tabs, which we've put in the official events channel, the infographic that shows the rewards for first, second, and third place. Also just great to hang out there and check out all of the events that happen in the future as well. Big Aiden deciding on what to do with his turn. He's got 2 mana. He's making a thoughtful decision here. Was really hesitant to make that play, but he decided to still summon the Arcane Experiment anyways. And he is going to instead attack rather than activate Lich to sacrifice the Arcane Experiment for the card draw. So he chose getting the 2 damage in was more important, as well as it gives him a blocker anyways for the Frontline Squire to be blocked and for him to still get the card draw in the future. The Soul Essence was not important to him in this moment. He'd rather deal that 2 damage. Rayon also assessing his turn here, trying to figure out what moves to make against this Lich deck. He's already got 1B down, and we know it's Plundering Guild MRA, so he's not going to have any necromancies to bring that B back from the graveyard. We're going to have Vanguard wipe the board. Not a bad choice. It makes it so that way the Vile Bonesmith does not gain the +1/+1 from Arcane Experiment, which is also an undead creature dying, which would proc the new Enrage ability. But Aiden is not too worried about it. He's going to instantly respond with some creatures of his own. He's got another Bonesmith as well as a Bone Brute. Rayan, I'm sure, would be tempted to get rid of the Bone Brute first, and that's going to cause the Vile Bonesmith to grow again. Having both of those early on is really big for Aiden here. Drawing into those later game, they're not as much of a value card, but getting them early like this in a deck that's full of bone creatures or undead creatures, he's hopefully going to get more value out of them than Rayan would like to give him. Rayan's still thoughtfully making a decision right now with his cards. He's going to go with his second B really early. A lot of players, especially in the high end, tend to save their Bs because it can be a late game win condition if you swing over your opponent's wall when they're not prepared for it. Dealing the extra early damage early can put the pressure on, but if you don't have any way to get through your opponent's wall towards the late game, it ends up having your deck kind of fizzle out a little bit in this aggro-y matchup here. He's going to get the 4 damage, though. It's going to be free, but the B will die. And Aiden, still sitting at 21 health, is still pretty comfortable. He's not too worried right now. We're going to see a Alcar, and it looks like this is a Lich deck that only runs a single spell. So Ritual of Annihilation will go off as soon as Alcar dies. The way this deck runs is you typically will run 1, maybe 2 spells. So we may also have a Totem of Droth in this deck. And basically, if either are hit, because they're both legendaries and both really well synergized with this deck, the Alcar hitting that is value either way. Rayon's really only choice would be hoping that he had some form of banish to get rid of the Alcar and avoid this Ritual of Annihilation altogether. But being an aggro deck, I don't think he has that in his arsenal, unfortunately. So if he starts attacking, as he's been doing with an aggro deck, that Alcar is going to willingly trade into them and then get this Ritual Annihilation going for free on turn 4 or 5. That's just going to be extreme value for Big Aiden here. We're going to see a single attack from the Frontline Squire that has been buffed, but again, Alcar is going to willingly block that die and summon the Ritual of Annihilation. Rayon is at 27 health currently, but that Ritual dealing 20 damage will be a problem. Also, Lich's ability has Activate to Sacrifice. Each sacrifice is not only going to give Aiden a Soul Essence card to buff his field, but also a decrease on the timer from Ritual of Annihilation, because it's decreased for every friendly sacrifice. You see one right there. He gets the Ritual of Annihilation, or down to 6, and he gets a Soul Essence in hand. He's going to continue to try to do this each turn to get that Ritual to proc off as quick as possible. And then as long as he can get that extra 7 damage, this match will be Aiden's. I think Rayon, realizing this reality, is really thinking through his turns of what he's going to do. There are some options. He could Pillaging Prince into some plundered cards to look for some answers. A Royal Filibuster strategically played on the right turn would be able to stop it. However, unfortunate for him, right, we have a Sir Larantir Lich with an activate ability that even if a Filibuster were to hit the board, Big Aiden can either proc ahead or proc behind the Filibuster. He would have to play 2 back-to-back basically to avoid the ritual going off. And even then, with a deck like this, I'm sure an additional sacrifice is possible with cards in the deck. Actually, no, he's not running like Dread Experiments or anything. So Sir Larantir might be his only sacrifice mechanic. But you'd have to get very, very lucky to try to get 2 Filibusters in a Plundering Guild and a Plundering Guild primary deck with a Wild Horde secondary. You'd only be able to achieve it with Plunder. He's only got 1 source each turn. The odds are not in his favor. He's probably going to end up taking that 20 damage. So he's got to, at this point, stay above 20 damage to avoid that lethal, all of which he's doing and not putting more pressure and damage on Big Aiden, bringing him down to lethal. Traveling Medic, just a free cost. Again, a lot of these lower cost creatures are in the deck because of the rallying or the Totem of Droth. When that is on the field, whenever the creature is summoned, he's going to be able to draw a card and gain a mana. So doing so is going to allow him to just blow the board state up and draw through his deck for free if he has 1 mana cost cards. The extra health gain is not super important. That's not the part that matters. It's more so just having the low cost creatures. Fireball going to take out 2. You can see Big Aiden is also growing his board state on both sides of his Dungeon Master because strategically the Fireball cannot, which is a very common removal card in most decks, cannot damage Dungeon Masters. So by splitting your creatures up on either side, you are effectively protecting some of your board state. Looks like in the chat we've got some people from Rayon's streaming community coming in here and supporting. They're all cheering him on. We're still in the first match of the finals, so it's anyone's championship at this point. Love to see the support, though. Board state's growing on Rayon's side here. That 20 damage is still pending. He is going to buff his ranged creature because with Sir Larantir being activated already and exhausted, unable to block, it means that he's going to have to block with his other 2 creatures. If he blocks with the Cautious Hunting Party, he will be able to trade. So that's not going to be too big of a deal for him. But it's going to allow it to have, now with the +2 attack, enough to kill the Cautious Hunting Party if it does block. Aiden here, instantly flipping. He would rather have the creatures on board longer, potentially as sacrifices to get this Ritual of Annihilation down sooner. And as you're going to see right now, he's going to do so. He's going to keep the Cautious Hunting Party and sacrifice the Flyer. He does not really need it. We're going to see a Vanguard take out 4 of Rayon's creatures and equalize this board state a little bit. 2 Bs going in, 8 damage. That will bring him to 19 HP, which is within lethal range of this Ritual of Annihilation going off. Is at 2. When it comes back to him, it will be 1. Oh, and the 2 sacrifices from the bees, I didn't even think about that, are going to proc the Ritual of Annihilation for lethal. First battle goes to Big Aiden. Well played. That early Ritual of Annihilation was clutch for him. Whoops. Let me update the score here. Currently 1-0 Big Aiden. Fan favorite from the community. He's, again, like I've said, won many tournaments. He's feeling very comfortable here in his ability to win today. Rayon, though, a new fan favorite and community here to support. He's going to show us what he's made of. Looks like he's sticking with the same deck he just ran, so he's hoping to get the win this time. But now, instead of the Lich deck, he's going to be playing against Big Aiden's Plunder aggro. Quick removal from Dead or Alive from Rayon. We'll see if he swings and gets a little bit of damage in here. Got another summon, buffing the cards in hand. Definitely getting these weapon carriers early is a clutch play. You definitely want them early when you have a lower mana curve and buffing those higher cost cards in your hand. Even here, he doesn't care that it necessarily dies. He already got the benefit from it. The Vanguard taking him out is not too big of a deal. It looks like Trapjaw Stump has also been buffed already as well, so it's still sitting there without a care in the world. Wandering Executioner taking out the Vanguard. I don't know if I would have used it for that. I mean, you do get rid of the Vanguard to get a little bit of extra damage in, but it's not super significant. The 4 damage could have been used on a different creature like this monstrous spore instead, and I think that would have gained a little more value. It all just depends, again, what cards are in hand. Vanguards are not too much of a threat. Vanguard would still be on the board at this point, but I'm not really concerned about it. He does have the Dead or Alive in hand to still handle the monstrous spore regardless, and now he has the 4 damage that he can get through because it was summoned the turn before. So it's going to end up being a better play for him to have gone that route. Still thinking through the rest of his turn. He's got 4 mana left. He's going to summon another amped creature and swing out without a blocker in sight. We've got 8 damage coming at Aiden, bringing him down to 16 HP. In an aggro versus aggro matchup, being first is definitely beneficial to keep that pressure up. As long as you don't have a bad turn on mana exchange, your opponent's going to be struggling to try to keep up with the damage you're outputting. Especially with Amped being a mechanic in the game. He is going to steal with his Grave Robber, the Dead or Alive, and use it to remove one of the creatures. Try to equalize his board state a little bit. An attack at this point would now lead to an exchange. But Rand's got 4 cards in hand. We'll see if he has something to get rid of this blocker again. Maybe throw down another Amped creature. We do. We see a Vanguard hit the board. It pings all creatures, but doesn't kill the Pickpocket. But the Pickpocket's now going to be able to get through with another solid 4 damage. 3 mana remaining. Does he have another amped creature in hand? Always got to take advantage of these free turns. When your opponent doesn't have a blocker in sight, definitely throw down those amped creatures and get as much damage in as you can. We're going to see an enhance on Copy Mage. So something in hand he wants to get a copy of. He enhanced the Copy Mage and reduced its cost. We'll hopefully see what that is here in the future. Another Vanguard, though. It's going to kill off the Pickpocket of Tomarol. And we're going to see another Grave Robber. What's he stealing? He's going to steal the Wandering Executioner, which is creature removal at this point. Not to mention a pressure attacker. Fireball is going to kill both creatures. We currently have 6 damage on board. That Copy Mage and the Missionary Vanguard are both buffed. So another 6 damage, which is going to put him down to 6. We know he's got the Wandering Executioner in hand, though, so he's going to be able to remove the Copy Mage next turn with that. And then he's going to have a little bit of mana left to play with. He's going to go Monstrous Spore first. He wants to draw to see his options before he commits to the Wandering Executioner, I'm sure. definitely got to think through his play. He's at 6 health. He knows he's playing against an amp deck, and it's Plundering Guild with removal. His board state might not remain. He's choosing to, instead of removing his opponent's creatures immediately, expand his board state of blockers right now to play a little more defensively. He had the coins available to get the extra summon of the Eager Farmer, which was definitely clutch in this moment. He knows his opponent only has 4 cards in hand. So even if he were to summon all of them, getting around this line of defenders now is going to be a little bit challenging. But if there's another Fireball in hand, his board is definitely susceptible. And there it is, Fireball. But he has to target the taunt first, so he's not going to get as optimal. Oh, he's going to play a second Fireball. 2 Fireballs in hand. Was that second one copied? Yeah, one of the Fireballs was from the copy mage that he played earlier, which was allowing him to break the taunt of the Stump Jaw, or the Trap Jaw Stump, which allowed him to then clear enough of the board state to get the win. Well played, Rayon. We are at 1-1. This is the exciting game we love to see here in the finals. This match will determine it all. Very interesting. So Rayon's decks, he's got 2 decks that are similar. One is a Wild Horde primary, and one is a Plundering Guild primary. But I believe they're both aggro and run a lot of the similar creatures. Big Aiden, having won with his first deck, now is forced to play the same aggro deck he was playing last time against this. So Rayon knows what's coming. Thinking through his turn. He's got plenty of time. Turn 2, he's going to reserve one of his bees in order to summon a monstrous recruiter. We're likely going to see at some point Sudden Onslaught mobilize that out of the reserves. But he's going for the card draw right now. He did not hit a spell, so he got really lucky on the Monstrous Spores ability, drawing into only creatures. Must be a pretty creature-heavy deck. That's pretty much what you expect from a Wild Horde aggro. Pickpocket of Tarmoral was summoned and amped, but did not attack. He didn't want to trade into the Spore because, again, the Spore is really strong as a defender as well. Because if you can get that Death Blow proc, a free Goblin is not what your opponent wants to give you. Energize Elemental coming out. Not a bad choice. He was probably deliberating for a bit there whether he wanted to put it into his reserves or not. Because by summoning it, he is going to get a chance to have the Pickpocket block it and still get the 2 damage, which he knows Aiden's going to prefer to block that over the Spore. And he's still getting the 2 damage on top of the extra 2 from Monstrous Spore. But by putting in the reserve, he could have mobilize it out later with the Sudden Onslaught, but he chose not to. Did we just lose Fireball from... I think that Fireball hasn't gone off yet, so I think Monstrous Spore drew 1, discarded 1, if I'm correct. Which is unfortunate, not as lucky as Rayon. Rayon got the double creature card draw, was able to keep them both. Looks like Aiden's going to lose one of his Fireballs, which is something I'm sure he's going to want to have had. We're going to see another Monstrous Spore from Rayon. It is going to cause him to discard his Necromancy, though. So unfortunately, that means he's not going to be able to get back an Energized Elemental or a Bee later in the match. But he's got, I'm sure, some more. And he did get 1 creature in hand from that Monstrous Spore, so hopefully he'll gain value from that. We're going to see yet another card hit the reserves. It's another Bee. At this point, if a Sudden Onslaught goes off, it's going to be an Arcane Experiment, not a really great hit, into 2 Bees. Aiden not having any flight of his own. Took a little bit of damage from that sentry, but instantly responded with a Vanguard to get rid of it. And he's going to throw down a Trapjaw Stump of his own. Put a little taunt on the board. Both players thinking through these moves. Aggro decks are generally considered one of the easier decks to play. And a lot of players meme on the fact that they feel like it's just go face. But as you can see here in the finals, top end aggro decks are something that you do need to think out a bit to make sure, especially in a mirror match with aggro versus aggro, that you don't lose the tempo that you're trying to maintain. He's going to use Grow the Horde to summon 2 goblins with Amped, as well as the Bone Brute, which is going to benefit from the spell being cast to gain the aggro. And now Aiden thinking through his blocks. He has the option when blocking with the Monstrous Spore to get a exchange, proc his Death Blow, and get an extra goblin with Amped that will be able to attack immediately. We're going to see that first. So he's going to guarantee the kill off of one, and then he's going to trade into the other. And he's going to decide to use his life as a resource and just eat the additional damage. He doesn't want to block either of the spores because he doesn't want to give Rayon any more goblins. He's hoping to find an answer here sooner that can get rid of them. He's going to steal probably... he's going to steal the Skywatcher Sentry. Immediately summon it so we can hopefully attack next turn. He needs to start doing some damage over the top in these similar aggro matchups. Flight can be key going over that wall of creatures. We're going to see a Lava Red Whelp, though, in response, which is going to be able to very easily block that Skywatcher Sentry, as well as if Aiden decides not to attack, it's going to definitely ping it off with its own ability. The more powerful flight creature on the board for sure at this point. Rayon, knowing that Aiden's going to have to start blocking these mushrooms at some point, and Rayon wants that value. He wants those goblin summons. He's going to attack with them every turn at this point until Aiden summons something that can handle them. Aiden having to make a tough call here of what to block. He's going to exchange with the Bone Brute. And he's, again, going to avoid... Oh, he's considering it. He avoids blocking the mushrooms to not give the additional goblins. But he needs to find something to deal with those quick. They're going to become a problem. He can't just keep taking the damage. He does have 4 coins, though, so he's going to get the free summon of the Eager Farmer. And there's a Wandering Executioner. He's going to prioritize the Whelp, though, to try to keep his flight advantage at this point. It's probably a good call. The Wandering Executioner on its own is something that can now handle the mushrooms as well. And he may just decide to... Oh, actually, he also has the buffed up Adventurous Farmhand, which can handle the other mushroom at this point. So he is no longer concerned about the mushrooms. He does have a Dead or Alive to handle that. Lava Red Whelp yet again, and he's going straight into a Spellbook Forgery, which is enhanced. So he's choosing 5 cards, 5 spells, hopefully looking for some answers to gain advantage here. As long as you don't hit duds, you generally gain a ton of value from that legendary card, which is why it's a self-banish after the fact. We'll see what Big Aiden got from that in just a little bit as he starts to cast those spells. Hopefully he found something that was of value to him to try to turn this back around. 16 health to 30 health, currently in Rayon's advantage, but board state's starting to look a little bit stronger towards Aiden. We do have 2 of the Dungeon Instigators on the board, and we have nothing but 2 mana creatures in the reserves. So maybe Rayon's decision to reserve those bees this entire time was based on these Dungeon Instigators, but he is taking a massive risk. If at any point Aiden attacks and the Dungeon Instigator blocks and dies, it'll summon those bees and die on the end of Aiden's turn rather than allowing Rayon to use them to attack on his own turn. So he may end up losing them. The only way that he's going to benefit from those bees in the reserves is if he gets them out with a sudden onslaught or somehow sacrifices these dungeon instigators on his own turn. And he needs to do that quick, because as Big Aiden starts to put on pressure, Rayon's going to be forced to block, and then he's going to waste those precious bees. It looks like, oh, because he's Wild Horde primary, we had a Devilish Larcenaire, which steals from your primary faction zone. For the Wild Horde faction, it is the reserves. So Aiden was able to steal the bee, one of the bees from the reserves, which already makes that even less of a problem for Aiden. He's becoming less and less concerned about those bees. Taking his time to think through the rest of his turn, though, he's going to Necromancy. And he summons a Grave Robber with that to steal yet another card from Rayon's graveyard. Looking at the options available here. Well, I'm not sure which one he took. It didn't decrease for me, so I'm not sure yet. But he is going to Grow the Horde. Was that what he took? In order to summon the extra 2 Wormlings. Full board state. Is that what we're looking at? 10, 9. But a Magi coming out and wiping most of those creatures off the board. Very strong card. We have all creatures with 2 or less health. So these, again, monstrous spores are becoming a problem. While Aiden does want to actually block these dungeon instigators right now because he wants to get the bee out of the reserves to being pointless, he is having the potential of risking the Arcane and the Bone Brute being the summons instead. And those are just free mobilizes for Rayon at this point. It's RNG. Little did he know, by stealing that bee, he actually weakened it. Oh, but he gets so lucky, and Rayon is so unlucky. The first one does summon the bee, which is going to waste it. It's going to kill itself at the end of the turn. But Rayon does get a free summon. And of the other 2, I would say the Arcane Experiment is definitely the one that Aiden would have preferred that he gain. Unfortunately, though, both of those mushrooms, like I said, the monstrous spores are summoning the goblins, so those are free summons as well. But the Vanguard doesn't care. It's going to wipe that board state, except for the Magi. He still has 6 mana left on his turn. Aiden thinking through his plays. Rayon, as a aggro deck, does not have a lot of card draw, and he's sitting at 2 cards left in hand. If Aiden can stabilize here, he has significant hand resources. If he stabilizes here, Aiden can still turn this around very easily. The downside is knowing that Magi is in the deck and that it hasn't been played up to this point, except for that first one that was just now cast. There are more in the deck, so as Aiden blows up his board with his own aggro creatures, he is potentially risking another Magi wiping his board state. We are going to see the Energized Elemental hit the board, but not attack, even though it has amped, because of the fact that the Magi would just be able to tank it. The 2 damage to Rayon's 30 health is not significant enough at this point. He's going to keep the Energized Elemental back as a potential trade in the future. We are going to see a little bit of card draw here, though, because of the sudden onslaught that we were calling earlier. I don't know if he was holding on to it this whole time or if he only just now top-decked it, unfortunately, missing out on that bee. But he did get the Bone Brute finally out, and it's getting the little bit of buff from having played a spell. And the 2 additional card draw is definitely not going to hurt him at all. Rand needs more answers in his hand right now to try to stay in this match. Ooh, we are going to see a Totem of Droth hit the board. And depending on the luck of these card draws, 1 mana cards so far are basically free exchanges, as we've said before. This Totem of Droth, every time a card is an innate creature is summoned, he's going to draw a card and gain a mana. So if that creature costs 1 mana, it is essentially free. It looks like he doesn't have any more 1 mana creatures in his hand, though, so he can't keep playing them. He did get 2 summons this turn from it. 3, 2. It at least exchanges the cards, so that way he doesn't diminish his hand state. But I would say that probably wasn't as optimal as he was hoping for. It does give him the current board advantage, but just like that with the Fireball, this comes right back to being a very close game. double fireball, first having to target the taunt creature, but now that it's out of the way, he's able to fully wipe out the board. And Aiden, with plenty of options still in hand, can very easily turn this around. What am I seeing here? He just summoned an Energized Elemental, but did not attack with it when Rayon had 0 blockers. He is potentially concerned by the amount of damage on the crack pack. We know 2 of Rayon's bees are gone. And what is in his graveyard? He has 1 Energized Elemental gone. We know he's played, I believe, 1 or 2 Bone Brutes as well. 1, it looks like. So, like, although Rayon could have had a decent amount of amps, he still had 2 blockers. Granted, Rayon could have also played some removal to get rid of the blockers and then throw down the amp, but 16 HP, I don't know. That free 4 damage, I think, is too important there in that turn. But Big Aiden, tournament winner, multiple occasions. I'm going to assume he's got a reason for not making that attack. Rayon thinking through his turn. He's going to summon the Monstrous Spore to draw the additional 2 cards. With those cards in hand, he's now deliberately taking the time to think through his plays and try to figure out how he can try to regain control of this match. He still has health advantage, but Aiden has a little bit of advantage on hand resource and board state. He's got to be very careful with his plays. We're going to see the Energized Elemental hit the reserves instead of the board. That to me suggests that he has another sudden onslaught ready to go, or he's hoping to top draw it pretty soon. His deck is diminishing. It is running out of cards here quickly. But the extra increased damage of +1/+1 from mobilizing the Energized Elemental could prove vital here in the future. He may be waiting for a turn to sudden onslaught and board wipe. Big Aiden now also taking the time to think through his turn. It's a tough call. Both are very close. The health disadvantage, knowing he's playing against an amped deck. He's got to be very careful and deliberate about his moves. Plenty of options in hand, though. 10 mana at his disposal. We're going to see a Call of the Old Gods just ping away a little bit at that shroom. He's going to take the risk and summon the Stellar Shard, 2 of them. He's going to be taking 2 damage a turn, but that's going to allow him to put a lot of pressure on Rayon here. Rayon going to have to figure out how to respond by separating both of those Stellar Shards to both ends of his board as well. It's going to force Rayon, even if he tries to fireball them, to only go after 1 at a time. I think obviously the choice would be to go for this one first to kill the Energized Elemental as well, but instead of having a fireball, he's got a Magi, and those Stellar Shards are going to take that damage. He did lose a few of his creatures, but for the most part, those Stellar Shards did their job and tanked a lot of the Magi damage. That was a Necromancy Magi, by the way, so it didn't cost all 10 mana for Rayon this turn. He still has 5 mana left to make a decision. He's going to reserve. Is that another Bone Brute? It is. And he's going to then sudden onslaught, like we predicted, into the Bone Brute and the Energized Elemental, as well as draw a card. Energized Elemental gaining that +1/+1, and Bone Brute getting amped from the sudden onslaught, as well as the Necromancy. A little bit of a taunt creature on the board as well. Because those Stellar Shards took so much damage from the Magi, they are going to die, or one of them is going to at least die in the trade. The other Stellar Shard survives with 1 health, but it's going to take 1 damage away from him this turn. We're going to see a Spellbook Forgery. Is there already won this match? So he Spellbook Forgeried into a Spellbook Forgery. That's his second one this match, giving him 5 more cards, filling up his hand yet again. He is at 10 cards in hand. You can tell by the visual effects over the deck right now that if he were to draw another card, it would get discarded. So he needs to start playing some cards and get them out of his hand so he doesn't end up losing anything on his next turn or anytime a card draw would proc. He's thinking through. He did draw a couple cards, trying to figure out which one's the best one for this solution or for this situation. It's going to be a Necromancy. What's he going to summon? Necromancy into a Wandering Executioner to take care of that God, I always butcher the name. The stump. The Trapjaw Stump. Which is going to allow him to target any creature he wants with his Beneficial Agreement, which anytime that creature attacks, he's going to gain life now. And the creature he chose was the Magi. So the Magi attacking is going to give him some of the life gain back. Interesting enough, Rayon is not going to block the Stellar Shard with the Magi. I believe it wasn't exhausted that turn. So he's going to take that 6 damage. It would have been a trade, but I think he's planning to use the Magi to deal a little bit of extra damage here. Or he plans on keeping the Stellar Shard alive to keep dealing that 1 damage a turn. We're not sure. Both players are... Well, actually, I think Rayon more so than Aiden is getting closer to the bottom of the deck. Mana burn is going to become a problem here pretty quick if there's no answers. Bonebrute getting the amped again. Still not seeing a clear way to victory here. We do have a single contract up. Must have been a contract that was plundered. Life Pact is obviously, or Pact of Non-Aggression is the obvious choice for, I think, what Aiden wants here to try to survive the damage from his aggro opponent. But obviously it's based on whatever you plunder. It could be a Breach of Turns, could be something. Actually, I don't believe it's a Breach of Turns because he just played a spell recently. We're going to have a Alcar into a Grow the Horde. It's not really fantastic turn. It's not bad, but it's not anything that's going to put Big Aiden here on his toes. Aiden's still considering his turn, what he's going to do here. He can't let that Stellar Shard remain, but Aiden's been letting it get through thus far. I think he's going to attack with it regardless. The Alcar is likely going to block, which is going to give him the Grow the Horde, which is likely going to go into 2 goblins with amp, so Rayon can attack immediately. Really thinking through his turn here. Current HP is 11 to 20. Rayon in the lead with health. Board state kind of balanced at this point, probably more in Rayon's favor. But hand state, Aiden's in it. Aiden has significantly more cards. We have a Call of the Old God, pinging down the Bonebrute just a little bit. We're gonna play. All right, we're going to play the Weapon Carrier, which is enhanced for a little bit of creature attack buff, which surprisingly is going to buff this Garanin. Garanin, with the 1 attack, is able to now block, if he wants to, this Bonebrute and take it out. The life gain, though, is going to be crucial. Rayon needs to get rid of the Garanin Trading Prince. We also see a Pillaging Prince hit the board. I keep saying that this is an aggro deck on Aiden's side, but it's more, it seems like the Plunder Control deck. I keep mislabeling his deck. This is definitely more, I don't know. I can't tell. It's like a weird mix. It has plenty of aggro itself, but he also is running like later game Plunder mechanics. Seeing a couple creatures get through after the The additional Magi summon wipes most of the board. We're going to see all these buffed creatures. Is that lethal? Wait a second. 5/5/5. What is this? Magi can only block one. He's going to take the 2 from that. And then he's taking exactly 20 damage. Exactly lethal from Big Aiden here in the finals. And the victory goes to Big Aiden on a full out swing with exact lethal damage. He was waiting and he calculated and he got it. Congratulations. Well played by both players. Let me turn the audio here back on.
Bro, Aiden, those 2 spellbooks were amazing, bro. I've seen both of them.
Wow. That was some match,
Like,
guys.
Like all them cards I got were good. I got really lucky there.
Aiden,
Those not one
Rayon,
bad card, you guys.
GG's to both of you guys. That was an amazing match to watch. An exact lethal. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm muted here, guys. I was saying GG's to both of you guys. That was an amazing match to watch. Exact lethal from Big Aiden there on that final swing. It was definitely could have gone either way at any point up until that final swing. So that's a great match. We love to see that here in the finals. Both of you well-deserved first and second placements. Congratulations, Big Aiden, on being our champion of our Season 0+ championship tournament. Congratulations. We've had you be a fan favorite of this community for quite some time at a lot of our tournaments. But to see you win today, I'm sure makes a lot of people happy. However, Rayon, a new competitor in the space and a large community of his own from the Italian community, was supporting here in the chat, rooting for you, and you definitely put on a show and showed them that you're here to showcase your skills and to represent them. So don't at all feel bad about taking second place here today. You played your heart out and you gave us quite a show, and we're very proud of you. And second place is definitely nothing to scoff at. You still get your cash prize, and you've accomplished a lot today. So congratulations. Both of you guys, very impressive. Do you guys have any comments you guys want to say to your communities?
I want to say thanks to Outdated Shark and Raider, because without them, like past couple of days, I don't think I would have made it here, because like they helped me make my decks, and yeah, I owe it to them. So thanks, guys.
That's awesome to hear. I love when the community comes together and net decks and battles against each other, theory crafting and testing, to make sure that you guys are up to snuff, to make sure you can win these competitions. Seeing that sense of community coming together, working together, to make sure you guys can all accomplish together, which a lot of you guys, Aiden, or you said it was Raider and who else?
And Outdated Shark.
And Outdated Shark both also competed in the tournament, right? So you guys were not only helping yourselves, but helping each other.
Yeah, Outdated couldn't make it.
Oh, he did qualify, and he did. Yeah, that's right. He registered, but he wasn't able to check in because he couldn't make it, unfortunately. But the fact that you guys are all helping each other, even though you're also going to be competitors, is showing really the teamwork and camaraderie and sense of community that we have here in Cards and Tankers, and that we try to nourish. And so that's really awesome to see. So I'm sure that they're proud of you. I saw Raider Lou in the chat cheering you on. You've made him proud. Again, congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
What about you, Rand? Do you have anything to say, English or Italian, you can say to your community? I don't know if you understand.
Yeah.
Sure.
For my community, yeah.
Yeah.
Repeat, sorry.
It's all right. All right, guys. That is going to wrap it up for our championship tournament today. Again, for both of you, you're going to work with Michelada to get your prizes, your cash prize, as well as to coordinate when you're going to be offline to get your very exclusive in-game trophies. If you guys haven't seen, these are the trophies that you guys can earn by competing in our championship tournaments. And they are extremely exclusive. Very few players in-game have them at this point. And Aiden is now one of the holders of the first place. And Rayon, you are now a second place trophy owner. Twisted, you are third place. Congratulations to you guys. Go ahead and hold those trophies up. I'm going to take a quick screenshot. Can you turn the trophy around so I can see the number, Rayon, if you don't mind?
Oh, he's on PC.
Oh, no, he can't. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's good enough. I'll Photoshop it. Just kidding. All right, guys. Congratulations. Well played. Hopefully we'll see you guys at the next championship tournament. And the new season again begins March 20th. And I hope to see you guys grinding those leaderboards, seeing you guys at the top again. Well played to all of you. And everybody watching the stream today, thank you for tuning in and supporting. We will catch you guys next time. Take care, everybody.